Hey everybody, we are online. It is Wednesday. I have just updated the today command. The plan is to work on Skeleseller for about 2 hours. Yeah, about 2 hours and then mentor Remy. I should probably make sure Remy knows about this. Let me go ping Remy really fast. Hey, just a quick reminder that we have mentoring in about 2.5 hours. Okay, there we go. I look forward to hearing about what's been up in the last. Actually, how long has it been? April 24th, 2 months. Wow, yeah. Actually, that's going to be the case for everybody, right? May to July, yeah. Everyone will have an extra month gap. Excuse me. I'm coughing occasionally, but I don't feel like sick. A lot of times you are coughing, so you feel sick. This is just coincidental coughing. I feel. Hey, wizard, here's a cookie. Wow, thanks. Actually, just had a cookie before the stream. In fact, let me show you a picture of this cookie because it was a special kind of cookie. I had this Mario one. So I've eaten Mario. Now I know what it's like to be Bowser. Okay, GitHub PRs and issues I haven't responded to. I think there's just one PR that we have to do. Oh, also sprint planning. Okay, let's take care of all the GitHub stuff then. Yeah. Also, I finally added the design document to my homepage. I kept going to it through GitHub. Not that that matters at all, really. All right, pull request 2. What is this doing here? Did I ever look at this? Oh, I probably need to comment on this. Yeah, I probably need to comment on this. Hey, Stilling. I'll just write it down. I'm not gonna comment on this. I'm not gonna do that now, I think. I want to look at the other PR though. All right, so close 145. When you click win all a couple times, it'll re-raise the events and spawn multiple adventures and enemies. This has been changed to immediately raised on battle event instead. Oh, this is... Oh, I was gonna say this is from 3 weeks ago, but the PR is from 2 days ago. Let's take a look. Debug, win instance, take adventurers out of battle. Win all instances. Kill all adventurers. Okay. Hey, simple hacker. Let's pull this down. GHPR list. Yep, check out 156. Oh, I should have run this beforehand. I wanted to see the problem. We need to keep local changes in this case. No, let's click this one and just make sure I didn't just break something. No, I didn't. All right, let's try this out. I'm not totally sure what this does. Like, I think I have an idea. I think that if you enter a battle and now click win, it just ends the battle. Yeah. And if you enter a battle and click lose, yeah, it immediately loses the battle. Okay, so how does this work? Take adventurers out of battle. Set is in battle false. Okay, and we have what? Debug, win, and debug kill all adventurers. Kill all battlers. How does this work? Oh, yeah, okay. I understand this. Where's the debug lose then? It's just kill all. Oh, because that immediately causes it. Okay, I understand. Yeah, I think this is probably fine. Is there anything different I would do here? Why do we even need this take adventurers out of battle? Is this called anywhere else? Battle ended does it. What did battle ended used to do? Where was that code? 157. On battle ended.invoke. Oh, I see. This code was right here. It was just made into a function. Okay. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. The whole set is in battle thing. Process mode. That's strange. Oh, this is to stop them on the overworld. Yeah, cool. All right, I think this looks good. I think we merged this. Looks good. This was slightly annoying beforehand that I had to click win or lose 3 times. Was that already listed here? Trigger current instance stage victory, which can spawn enemies multiple times if we keep clicking. Yeah, I think this is totally fine. And wait for the 2-second transition. I think that if we ever need to win a single stage in the future, that we can do so in a way that avoids 145. All right, comment and merge and pull. Has been successfully merged. Cool. Wait, town changed. Just for the buttons, right? Where's the files change here? Yeah. Nice, looks better. Cool, cool, cool. There's that. All right, next up is the project. We are now in a new sprint or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, there's nothing here. So I wonder if there's a way to look at the previous iteration. Views 2. Oh, iteration next. Maybe we can say previous here. Well, would you look at that? We can. So yeah, quest follow-up work should be in the next iteration. Why is there no next iteration? All I see is iteration 5 here. Do I need to make an iteration? What? I don't remember having to do this. Roadmap. Oh, maybe I do have to, and I just... Oops. Oh, darn it, I changed this. Yeah, how do you make an iteration? I don't know how to do that. Project details? What? GitHub projects, make new iteration. Click on roadmap. Oh, hey, Darkstorm. Middle click drag? Seriously? I mean, I want to see what they say for this. It looks like there's a way to do this here. Add iterations, make other changes here. Roadmap. Add iteration, more options. Edit. Okay. So in menu, click settings. Click the name of the iteration field you want to adjust. In what menu? Oh, here. Settings. Iteration. You're out of iterations. Makes it sound like oh, you're done with the free plan. Can we just... That's it? Literally, I just had to click add a bunch of times? Wow. Well, there we go. That's something. All right, I'll write this down in my notes. GitHub projects. To add iterations, follow these simple steps. You can just click add iteration a bunch of times in a row if you want. When you click on issues in the roadmap for the current iteration. What was, well, maybe it does that, but I was going to say, oh, I guess I haven't done it yet. So yeah, let's go take a look. What was weird about it to me was I couldn't change a task by going through, maybe you know what? Let's add a new duplicate view. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, let's set this to previous. So what I couldn't do is I couldn't set it through here. I know what you're saying is I could apparently do it through the roadmap, quest follow-up work, which I guess is going to be back here somewhere. Where? Here. Oh, no, you can't drag it. I guess there does need to be an iteration there. Okay, we'll call this the previous iteration and rename previous iteration. And I will go save this. And now our quest follow-up work can just be bumped to the next iteration. We just probably need to refresh. Ding, 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 ding. Got it. Okay, there we go. So now the roadmap should only have current items here. There should only be one. Yeah, there it is. All right, yeah, looking good. I haven't figured out what I want to do next, though. I think I want to also... Let's go to the backlog here. There was something about AI. Yeah, make them have smarter AI. I think I want to put this in the ready category. And what else did I have? I think that's it. Maybe make a new character class. And maybe work on quests and stuff. But yeah, that's good. Okay, I'll put this in the current iteration. And then that's it. I'm not going to go too heavy on this right now. So now if we look at the current iteration, I've got 2 tasks. And we're not doing either one just yet, I think. We're totally skipping it and going to summons. Iteration, when you click somewhere on the roadmap, it'll add to the current iteration or future ones. Yeah, I don't think there was a future iteration to add to. Like if I scroll forward way over to here and I just click, oh no, it does say create an iteration. I see. Okay. Yeah. You can also just left click on the roadmap if you want. All right. So let's change this really fast because this is like a 1-line change. It should be very, very easy. There's a grant most things, and we're just not going to have it create workers. And the reason why not anymore is because of the whole adventurers acting as workers. So let's reload this again. And like I said, this is a very, very quick thing. Grant most things now does not give you any skeletons, but add worker does. There, that's it. All right, so stop granting workers from debug function. Grant, well, I'll just say from grant most things. There's a separate create worker button. This way, when quickly granting all of the item displays, we don't also pollute the town with a ton of workers. This is pretty minor. This is the kind of thing where it's like, if Dark took exception to this, I'd just be like, yeah, whatever, let's just set it back. But it was on my list and I was annoyed by it, so I'll change it for now. Okay. Yeah, so I think I want to take a look at summons. Let's go over to the issues. I know there was something here written about summons, prototype summons. And this is just in the backlog. Goose, thanks for the resub. Welcome back. Honk. Did I write some of these things down over here? I think I did. Yeah, this. And I also wrote this. We don't technically need a summoner, but it's one of those things I want to lay the foundation for anyway. All right, add a character to battle, make them untargetable, make them, I'll say potentially untargetable, not all of them should be untargetable, and then give them a lifespan measured in time. All right, so let's start by adding a character to battle. Let's actually start by moving this into the current sprint, huh? Status in progress and iteration current. So let's look at where we call create enemy battlers. Here it is. Oh, don't worry about replying to it. A lot of this stuff was like, I think they're good questions to ask, and I just don't have good answers necessarily. So what I want to do is kind of the same thing I wanted to do originally. With the ability system, the goal was just ensure we could make anything we want. So I made a heal ability, but it's not even used in the game, right? It still exists. And it was just to prove that we could. So now with the summon system, the goal is going to be just ensure we can do the stuff you brought up. Or at least the important stuff. So I think the big things are going to be like summoning and then targetable versus untargetable. And the last one was, oh yeah, time-based versus life-based. And that's it. I think those three things should be good enough. Maybe also some positioning thing. Position them in an empty slot. Don't allow summoning if your side is full. Yeah. All right, so we go into instance. We have create enemy battlers. We need this sort of thing, but we need to be able to call it from within a battle. Why is this in the instance? Get position of battler, because this needs the stage taken into account. Stage offset. Yeah. Anything else? Enemy data, get. I think this might need to move to the battle system. I think. I don't know, and it doesn't matter too much. What do we have in play our battlers? Go through each adventure, come up with a position. The position is based on this eye, though. We need to know which slots are taken in a battle. And we need to be able to call this just at will. So figure out which slots are empty. Oh yeah, take care, Darkstorm. And I do hope you're recovering over there. Yeah, this is going to be like, we're going to need a function here that's something like this. Private void summon, we'll just call it summon, whatever. And we would pick which team it's on. And we'd pick which, how do we create enemies right now? And, oh drat, they're called enemies. Oh, whoops. I guess it should have been like character data or something. Whatever, they're just still gonna be called enemies. But technically the stuff you summon, like if you summon a bat, it's called an enemy, and it really shouldn't be. It should have just been like character data or something. Yeah. Well, that's fine. All right, so yeah, you summon to a particular team and you give it an enemy ID, and we're gonna need to do a bunch of stuff here. So to do, find an empty slot in the battle. To do, if there is no empty slot, don't let the summon go off. To do, create a battler at that slot. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so find an empty slot in the battle. We can get, none of this stuff should be here, I think. Yeah, this stuff should be in the battle system. We have all the targets. We know their positions. We don't know their grid positions, though. Hey, Smoo. Smoo's over on SmooTube. That's why it looks like I'm just responding to nobody right now. Yeah, I don't think I want this here. I think I want this in battle system. Certainly summons make sense to have for a particular battle. And this should be public. Let's just put this here. Oh, not protected, public. Enemy ID. Cool. So find an empty slot in the battle. How are we going to do that? We have a list of all the battlers. When a battler is dead, does it get removed from the... No, it doesn't. Okay. So we can just look through battlers, sort by the team, and then get their positions. Alternatively, what we could do is we could keep track of which positions are used and unused because characters don't move, I guess. So we have a couple options. So problem, need to figure out how to find a new slot to use for battle. It's YouTube, but more smooth. Hey, Peplon. How goes it? So option number one could be to iterate over all team members and find an unused slot. And option number two is just always track which slots are used or unused. Given how infrequent we're going to do this, I think option number one is probably just easier. So I guess let's do that. This is probably a little easier, and this won't be done often. Also, even if it were done often, it's not even that intense. It's an O of n calculation where n is at most 18. So not too crazy. Yeah, so maybe here's where we'll get a private function. Private, how do we want to do this? We could return a hash set of points, vector 2, that represents like get empty slots, and pass in a team. Just finished the semester, so I'm free for the summer. Oh man, that's an amazing feeling. I'm doing well. I am coughing, but I'm not exactly sick, I would say. And I have been sick for what, like a week and a half, and I felt like, oh man, what if I am operating at 100% and I just think I'm supposed to be better than this? But no, now I feel like I'm finally operating again how I should be, which means I can think through problems and I can actually come up with solutions. It's frustrating doing any sort of mentally intense work and being like, huh, there's a fog in my brain. What is this doing here? Get position of battler. We don't have this. Yeah, we don't have this. So that's the next problem I think we need to figure out. Problem, we don't store grid positions of battlers. Option number one is figure it out from their world positions, which is kind of frustrating, I think. And option number two would be store it after setting it. I think I just want to go with that. We have a battle component, but I think it's battle stats. Oh, there's battle team. We could also just store their coordinates in here. Yeah, you know what? Let's maybe do that. All right, so public vector to grid position gets set. And we need to store this in here now. Vector to grid position. There we go. Being half sick for ages is annoying. Rather be full on sick and get it over with. Yeah, well, it started with being full on sick and then went to half sick for a very long time. Hey, Funky Monkey. Welcome back. Yeah, I had a nice vacation. It was good. We went to Spain. We walked 200 miles. We went to a really nice wedding. It's pretty good. Then I got very, very sick. That part wasn't so good. All right, so stored after setting it. So we just need to find out where we called this. How have you been, Funky Monkey? We get this a bunch of places. Is there a way to just find the constructor of this? Like if I press F12 on this, it finds every reference to battle team component. I guess this is probably the only place. This only has the team. There's a lot we need to do. What kind of game am I making? If you check out that, yeah, there's a little FAQ here and it talks about everything and it's very short. So if this is lacking at all, please do let me know and I'd be happy to fill in the blanks. The game is also technically playable, but I don't recommend playing it. In fact, the FAQ should mention that. Let me write this here. Yeah. If you're reading this before July 19th or so, I don't recommend playing the game. We got a lot of feedback already, and we're in the process of incorporating it. There we go. So yeah, the game is playable, but playing it won't be as fun as it will be in a month or in 2 months or in 6 months. In a day? No, that would be ridiculous. The average walking pace is probably like 2.5 miles per hour. So you could just imagine how long that would take if you were to do it all in at once. But yeah, it was over the course of 2 weeks. Bought my first house while you were away, so in full-on packing and decorating mode. Nice, nice, nice. Congratulations. That's exciting. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. Thank you, Peplon. I've been happy with the feedback so far, and that's knowing that there's a bunch that I still want to change. And I've been thinking about it and thought, what's changed already? And there's a bunch of stuff, but I guess it won't really make a lot of sense if you've never played the game before. But we have adventurers act as workers. We have nicer looking instances. We have multiple stages in an instance. We have one animated ability. What else did we get? Oh yeah, pathfinding. I think that's it. I think that's like mostly it, at least. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. But this was all in not a ton of time. And then there's going to be a lot of other things. How long have I been coding for? I've got a command for that here. Got commands for practically everything. But welcome in, Shawarma. Do you control the adventurers, or do you send them out on missions, or how does that work? You don't directly control them. So a lot of this game, it was just intended to be like a chill, semi-automated game. And I'll show you what's going on. Oh wait, no, this won't work because I am in the process of breaking things. All right, let's just put this in here for now, and this might make it work. It might still be broken because I have battle system. I have this stuff still. We can just return this. There. Okay, yeah. So you start out with one adventurer here, and the only thing you control on it really is its skills. So there are 4 different buttons you can actually like put points into, and it tells you what they do. Each adventurer only has 2 abilities and then 1 passive ability. And then when they enter battle, they just automatically use their abilities. So you can see every once in a while it's going to say cloak over here or something, stealth. And that's it using Cloak of Shadows. And the quick strike is just the 2s that you see popping up over this. So when you do level up your adventurers, if I click level up, and let's just force that battle to be over, and I put more points into quicker strike, for example, now you'll see the attacks are going even faster than they were before, because that's what quicker strike does, lower the cooldown. So that's the kind of control you get. You don't control what they do in battle, and you don't you don't control their movement on the overworld. And once they win a fight, you'll get items in your storeroom. This is almost done there. And then your adventurer and your worker will go over and pick up those items and put them in your shop. And then customers can go buy those items. And yeah, you use the money from the proceeds to upgrade your adventurers and upgrade your shop and go on quests and stuff. Are we sure there's no use of polyfill? What do you mean? Do I recommend just in time or just in case? I haven't actually heard of just in case before. What is that? And by the way, in general, I think a lot of this is talking about compilation. So you can optimize code for a particular platform if you know something about the platform, and that's what just-in-time compilation would be. Just in case might be something kind of similar to that, where it's like, oh, you have a very specific use case. I think in most, oh, just-in-time learning. Oh, I thought we were talking about compilation. What do you mean? Like you just start on a project and you don't know what you need to do for that project, and then you learn it as you go? Because I think you're always in that case. You can't know everything that you're going to need to know ahead of time and then go study all those things and then know it and then make sure that I'll never learn another thing for this project. Also, please don't segment messages in this chat. I know you're responding to me and everything, but please be mindful about typing a lot of small messages. Yeah, so I don't think there's a way to avoid that, but yeah, I guess I would need to know what is the alternative exactly. Bought by a Chinese company and injected malicious code. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's intense. I did not hear about that. Deeply learning the fundamentals would be like just in case, I guess. Yeah, I guess I don't see the real world application of even answering this question. And I'm not trying to say it's a bad question. I'm not in the know enough about why this would matter to somebody. I guess it's sort of like saying, should you master a subject before trying to use it? And I don't think that's a good idea. I think you learn a lot by making mistakes, and you learn about what you need to know by actually doing something. So let's say you didn't know anything about programming and you wanted to set out to make a game. You would obviously need to know some kind of development. It doesn't necessarily need to be coding, but you need to be able to do blueprints or, coding, or I guess that's pretty much it. Or maybe make a tabletop game or something like that. And then in that process, whatever it is you're trying to learn, you'll figure out where your gaps are and you'll just fill those in. Okay, so where do we leave off here? I left off with making a new team component here, and I set a vector. This now needs to know where we positioned this thing. And we position it in here. Yeah. Leaning toward diving head first. Yeah, and I think the way where you would temper that a little bit is, okay, let's say you are going into game development. You know you want to do game development. One way of approaching it is, yes, just download an engine and immediately start. But if you know for sure, okay, I'm going to do this for the next, whatever, 10 years or something, then getting some of the foundational just learning some coding, learning some bits about game dev, I think that's pretty important because you know that that's going to help you in the future. I think there's a lot of stuff you don't know for sure is going to help. So it's like if you didn't know anything about game development and you immediately started with like, let's learn about pathfinding, that's probably dumb. You should probably learn something that's going to be more generally applicable, like rendering, or the math behind controlling this, or the logic of coding. Yeah. So we set the position here, and we could keep track of this position. I guess the get position of battler is what? Returning a vector, but the vector is in terms of the actual position. Yeah. So we need to be able to get the position in terms of coordinates and then multiply. Okay. Or learn a language first. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Fancy Pixel. But really, learning a language first would be fine, I would say, if you know you're going to be developing. I guess the equivalent there would be like if you want to learn programming, so you learn how to make a programming language. It's like, you might never need that, but you're certainly going to know how to use one if you program. And on top of all of that, I guess there's this layer of, I don't think any knowledge you gain is ever a bad thing. So if you do learn, let's say, how pathfinding works as soon as you get into game development, it's like, that'll probably come in handy down the line. And if not, you never know exactly how it's affecting the other knowledge you have. This is VS Code, yeah. Why do I prefer to Visual Studio? So there are two parts of this. One is Visual Studio is just a heavier editor, and I'm very impressed with VS Code. I've been using it a lot more. But the second thing is I'm on Mac, and on Mac, VS was like regular VS. Visual Studio was, I think, deprecated or sunset or whatever, or will be in 1 month. So yeah, VS Code accomplishes everything I needed to do, really. All right, two things we got to do. So what is this starting position? 3 and then 1. Oh, because how many tiles in we are. Then we get a row and a column. All right, it's this row and column that I want. So we're going to do private vector 2 get grid position of battler, int battler index. Now the grid position doesn't change for this. Yeah, so we just do this. Now over here, we say vector 2 grid position. Should just be able to fill in the rest. Yeah. Then when we use row and column, we use it with grid position dot x and grid position dot y. Yeah. this is, I'm going to need to change some of this code too. Yeah. Hey, good Eek. For single projects, it's so much overkill. Yeah, and it does some things a little bit nicer, at least with C#. So for example, if you have, let's say I put an extra space here, this will complain, code should not contain multiple blank lines in a row. And when I save, it'll fix this. So that's an easy thing it can fix. But let's say I don't know, I had an import that wasn't being used. Like, I don't know, just imagine an import here, some system.foo. My code doesn't know how to delete this stuff, but Visual Studio would. And it's not like VS Code can't do that. It's just there needs to be an extension that knows how to do that. And as far as I know, there isn't a free extension for it. Although even if there is, it's not super important, I guess. What was I going to do? Oh, yeah. I was going to go to setting the position. So we call this init. Where are you, init? Oh, Battler has it? Battler. Yeah, we call this, and this is going to need to take in a grid position. Vector to grid position. And we can just pass that in here. And then check for this again. This should only exist in what, 2 spots? Yeah. All right, where do we have get position? There it is. Yeah, so now we do vector to grid position. Should just know what I want. Good. And then we pass that in here. I need to refactor some of this code for sure. Yeah, I don't like exactly how this is laid out. So clean up, work, change how characters are positioned in a battle. The instance probably shouldn't care about this. Yeah. Keep building projects to have a portfolio of games, I guess. Yeah, I think generally when it comes to learning anything, it's some mixture of theory and practice. And the practice never goes away. Like if you want to be really good at just, you name it, writing, music, game development, football, like you play, you practice, you do that thing. And that's going to be, it's just got to be a constant, I feel. And then, yeah, you can't just practice. I think you also need to learn new things and then apply that to your practice. I'm not using Unity for this, no. I'm using Godot. If you take a look, there's a little FAQ here. Started an education program, started coding last fall. We've been using Fat Visual Studio the entire time. There's nothing wrong with that either. Excuse me. Also, whenever it comes to education, they need to pick something. It's like you might have a 6-month course and they can't teach you every editor, every language, every whatever else. So you're not going to get experience with everything throughout whatever schooling you're doing. And that's where just the ability to move to different languages or programs or technology is important. Yeah, I like Godot. I think it's been good. I started using it like many years ago, and not because I didn't want to use Unity or something. I just want to see what it was all about. Very slow, but I feel like I learned a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I think more and more people are doing that, using ChatGPT to fill in blanks for them. I myself don't do that. I feel like I'd have a hard time trusting that what it's telling me is correct. And yet, I guess if you search something on the internet, you don't know that whatever you're reading there is correct either. So, yeah. Just start YTD. What is YTD? Oh, yesterday. Oh, for whatever reason, that meant year to date to me. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Any advice on starting with Godot? I guess it depends on what your experience is, but can you mix it with OpenGL? You shouldn't need to worry about what renderer is being used by Godot. So I think just start by learning the Godot basics and how they set up a scene tree, and then make a simple game. And yeah, see. Hey Peter, I will start tomorrow. Tomorrow, at least, I would understand if I had never seen that before. So now we have the grid position in here, and this is stored inside the team component. And that means that when we go back to that code that I had commented out, where is that? Summon, yeah, here. Somewhere I wrote out this, get empty slots. Okay, so first we need to get all of the used slots, I guess. Actually, we could just make a, I don't want to do this. I guess a Boolean array is slot filled, or filled slots. New bool 9. Yeah, then go through everyone on the team. This is not how you would do this. There's like get team. I don't remember how to do that. Get targets. It's one of these functions. Here it is. Filter battlers by team. Filter battlers by team. Team. Var foo equals this. I just do this so that I can get the type. So these are the team members. Then we go through each team member, get its battle team component, get its grid position. And then this is going to be build slot. Let me think about this for a sec. Yeah, y times 3 plus x. Oh, it was already correct. Yeah. Okay. This is the whole code review of what AI is doing. So we just need to make these things capital. Cannot implicitly convert from float to int. Oh, whoops. Whoops. This should have been a vector 2i. Yeah. My bad. Where do we create this now? Battler, I think, in it. Yeah, there it is. So that's also a vector 2i. And then where this is called, you guessed it, we make these vector 2i's as well. Yeah, because grid positions are always going to be integers. And then we just have one more of these to change. I think it's this one. There. Hey, Liquidor, how you doing? It's a lot of questions like, what is a container and what are services? Yeah, and those you can probably trust the answers to in general. I don't think it's like so technical or advanced that you wouldn't be able to rely on the collective knowledge of the internet powering an LLM to answer it. Instead of manually renaming, wouldn't the IDE be able to refactor it all? I didn't rename it though. That's the thing. I changed the type of it. And maybe it could do that. I know for sure it can rename. So if I renamed it here to whatever, Liquidor or something like that, it would rename it everywhere else. So here it renamed it. But I don't know how to change the type through that. Maybe there's a way to do it. Refactor. No, yeah. I don't know if there's any way to do that. All right, so now we go back to battle system. Yep, this. Now it says cannot implicitly convert, but that's wrong. It should be, nope, it's still, there we go. Got it. All right, so these are all the filled slots. Now to get the empty slots, it's just the ones that are false, but we need to convert those back to a position. So we go through this and actually, you know what? What if I just delete that and have it write out a new thing based on what we have? Yeah, if not filled, x% I percent 3, I divided by 3, new vector 2i, that's what we got to do. Get there, empty slots. Collection can be simplified. All right, there we go. I think that's good. Oh, I don't think this is like a vector type thing or anything. It's just imagine if you have any function, public void foo, and it takes in like int x, and you just say whatever, return x plus 5. If you want to change this to a float and you want to have it change it everywhere, like you call foo with 5 now, I don't know how you do that. So it doesn't matter that I happen to use a vector. It's just the type that I don't know how to refactor everywhere. Does it lazily evaluate the iteration over the I enumerable? It should, yeah. I enumerable is just something that has a next function, or well, I guess I get enumerator, and then the enumerator has a next function that I can call. Although I can't show that here, but yeah, it's not something that it needs to have at runtime or at the time that you define the I enumerable. Hey, Remy. Remy, you got my message, right? Yeah, I see you responded to it. Let me read your response really fast. All right, good. So now we have get empty slots. Now we're going to go to our gigantic list of to-dos that we have. So find an empty slot in battle. So this is going to be var empty slots equals get empty slots for the team. Then if there are none of those, return. This is a little bit weird because if you're trying to summon something and it just does nothing, then you might want there to be something else that happens. Like, I'm not going to code this yet, but imagine an ability that says something like summon a bat. Oh, Peplon, thanks for subbing. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Summon a bat. It might be like, if there's no room, deal 15 damage or something like that to a random enemy. So, yeah, I don't know how we're going to make abilities yet. But having it just do nothing is probably a bad idea. Oh, and Serial Pie, thank you too. Do you use async await somewhere, or is there no heavy code? There's very little async await that's needed in this, only because of the kinds of things that are done. The one place where it might have been needed, but the Godot obscures it for you, is rebaking that nav mesh. There is this function. So we call bake navigation polygon. This actually takes place on another thread, but we don't need to do anything special about this because Godot has a signal that'll send back to us when it's done, and it handles the threading for us. And that's just a lot of the stuff we do is just not so intense that it needs to await something. The one place I could see our game having it is, let's say there was like some file it needs to download from a website or something. How often does it get baked? It's every time the collision changes. So practically what that means in the game is every time you upgrade a shop or your storeroom, and that's not super frequently. I can't show this because I have this broken right now. Instance is broken. Vector 2i. What line is this? Oh, 251. Grid position. How did I not change that? Thought I had. Yeah, not that often. Yeah. Yeah, the nav mesh represents what is walkable. So it's only when that walkability needs to change. And in this game, yeah, it's pretty infrequent. In other games, if you're doing it constantly, then maybe a nav mesh is not the best solution. Although it could be. It's a lot that goes into pathfinding. Could you ask it to give you a background thread to do stuff? Or can you just use C# standard? I can use C# standard stuff. With Godot, you need to make sure that you're calling anything that changes the game from their like main thread. So if you are calling it from some arbitrary thread, they have a way of you like syncing it back onto the main thread, which are typically just deferred calls. Okay, so where did I leave off? Battle system. So find an empty slot. We now have an empty slot. Now we can just get a random one, or should we get the first one? Now let's just get the first one for now. So we get a slot, and now we create a battler at that slot. We don't have a way to do this. That's where we would do something like this, but there's a whole lot that needs to change. Yeah. You can do anything in async await except interacting with the Godot API. You can't set things in the Godot API. You can probably get things from it. So if I were to, let's say, just spawn a new thread and try to add a sprite, it would probably say you can't do this unless it's from the main thread. Hey, Remy. And that's where you could say, you could just do a call. This is not the syntax for this, but it's something like this: call deferred add sprite. And then your add sprite method could be the whatever you want to do, right? Town.addChild, some new sprite. Again, not the real code for this, but close enough to what it is. Yeah, Liquidor, I know you already found this document, but I try to keep this as brief as possible for that reason. But I can give you the brief overview of the game. You run a town, and you have these adventurers. They're the ones with the colorful hair for right now. and they can get into battles for you. And when they win a battle, which I'm just going to force a win here, then you can earn items. The items are sold by your workers and adventurers. They're put into these shops, and then the customers can go buy them. And with the money you get, so I'm at 0 money right now, and now I'm at 3, you can eventually level up your adventurers, hire new ones, upgrade your shops. So you can start to get quests and stuff. I can just grant a bunch of things. You can see what the game would eventually look like sort of toward the end. It's kind of like an idle game, yeah. I want to avoid the idle branding because I think it gives connotations that aren't exactly correct for this game. I wanted this to be more like you're not directly controlling stuff, but you're also not just leaving this for 12 hours. And I feel like a lot of idle games are just like, just leave your phone on, put it on your desk, come back 12 hours later, make like 2 decisions, come back another 12 hours later. Isn't starting a new thread not that resourceful? It depends on what you're doing. So think about this. Almost every modern CPU has multiple cores. And let's say you have 4 cores and you have a single threaded game. At best, then you can use 25% of the power that your CPU has. So now let's say you need to do something that's computationally intense. Maybe you need to, I don't know, compute a mesh or something like that. Like instead of using your main core, which is going to get capped at 25%, you throw it on another thread and do that background task there. I mean, that's the whole concept of why you'd want threading. Now, it would be dumb for something like, oh, I need to add, 2 plus 3 plus 4. I'm going to do this on another thread. Like that's, so few CPU cycles that the overhead would exceed the cost of the operation itself. It is not multiplayer, no. I don't know how this would even be multiplayer. Like, I guess if you're familiar with this concept of an Archon mode, which is a StarCraft parlance, but the way that this worked in StarCraft is an obvious multiplayer game, but you can have multiple people controlling the same army. That's the only way I could kind of see that working here, which is like any person on your team could control the game, I guess. But yeah, I don't see a need for that. It's one cycle. I mean, it depends on how many cycles, right? Like it's potentially one add call. Depends on what it gets compiled into, where you're pulling those variables from, and then how many cycles the ALU on the CPU takes to perform additions, which is probably one cycle. But yeah, depending on the bittage of the numbers. Or 2 instances in anything positive for one player affects the other one. Yeah. I don't think this game is going to benefit from being multiplayer. And I think if you were to go head to head to somebody in a game like this, you'd want the matches to be like 10 minutes long or something. Okay, so we don't have a way to call this code, and we need a way to call this code. And I think we're going to need to refactor some of this. Let me think about this. We also need to consolidate how we create battlers. So maybe that's what I'll do next. Oh no, it's fine. I don't mind the suggestions or questions about these things. I think it's just I've got an idea for what the game should be, and I've got a timeline in general for the game. The timeline is about 5 more months. We'll probably end up overshooting that by a bit, but I'm going to try to stick to this as much as possible. So we've been very rigid about the tasks we're doing and what we're adding. There is a whole list of ideas. Unfortunately, you don't have access to this list. But yeah, I've been writing down things that people say, and I generally just copy paste their names. So like Remy said, I'd like to have trophies. Yeah, Ryan said could have auto equipment. Yeah, there's a bunch of suggestions here. And yeah, maybe in the future we'll tackle some of these, but we got to be very careful about scope creep. And also, I think, games are kind of interesting because you could have, I don't know how I just did that. You could have a game that is fun, and if you add or subtract just one thing, you can kind of make it unfun. And I think a classic example of this, Minecraft actually started as Infiniminer by Zachtronics, and it was Minecraft plus something else. And I don't exactly remember the game that you played here. It was some team-based something or other. And Minecraft was like, let's just remove the something else, and then became a $2.5 billion game. So I don't think usually it's that stark of a difference, but I want to be careful about the ideas that we add. Yeah. What AI structure did you choose? Don't want to disturb your thinking. It's just cool and awesome what you're doing. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. The workers and villagers and whatever else, they have a state machine in them, and that state machine is just a really simple set of tasks that they have. So like they wander around, then they eventually pick up an item from the storeroom, and then they drop it off, and that's it. There's no like smart AI. This is like the AI that you'd use to describe Bomberman in the Super Nintendo era. Like, yeah, enemies move around, but it's not like they're, it's the Bayesian network or something behind it. There's just some simple if statements. Oh boy, Skelebattler. Yeah, so I think we gotta refactor this. And I think we also need to consolidate the two functions. Although actually, I guess we just need a create battler for a team. So I want a function like this, I think. I guess I just want the summon function. I guess this should use that summon function, which is really just gonna be create battler. Battle system summon. Yeah, this should just be like create. I'll just call it summon. I think it's fine for now. Skelebotland. Yeah. All right. So what are we doing here exactly? Get their ID, get a position. This should just be based on the next empty position. So it won't be based on an index anymore. Then grid position. Oh, but we need to know which ones were taken up. So the battle, oh man, there's a lot that needs to change here. The battle system doesn't know which empty slots are there unless it knows which battlers are there. So I need to add these battlers as I go. All right, yeah, we've got our work cut out for us. So this stuff is done. We now need to refactor the creation of battlers. Need to add battlers one at a time instead of generating the whole team at once. That way we can tell which slots are empty as we're adding characters. And yeah, let's start with that. Hey, Trackley. You still have your botland script stored somewhere? Creating games is fun. I think it's also a lot of work, and at some point, you're practically guaranteed to have a task that's just super boring to you while you're making a game, and you have to do it. So, yeah, those have certainly happened, and we spent a bunch of time working on pathfinding in the last week, and that eventually lost its luster. All right, so how's this working right now? We get the characters and the enemies. We set them all, and then we initialize them in the battle system. I want to be able to add these on the fly. Sounds like any software engineering job. Right, there is boilerplate, but I guess what I'm trying to say is a game is intended to be fun for the consumers of it. So it tends to be fun also to create it, I guess. Whereas any sort of business application is tending to solve a need. And I guess you could say a game is solving the need of wanting to have fun, but a business application is like, hey, we need our accounts to go over to this other system or something. And it's like, there's no fun involved in that. There could be fun making it. Okay, so what would we lose by not doing things this way? I don't think anything here, but I think in between stages, we get all of the adventurers and we do something with them. What do we do? Go to next stage, get the adventurers, and then what? And then initialize again. Okay. Because we're making a new battle system. And we set a new position. But we actually... And what does init do? Sets the on die to make sure they have an effects component. Okay, I think we got to change all this. Solving problems can be fun. Yeah, I guess I kind of stated all that really weirdly. I think you can have fun making anything, but I don't think the target of all programming is supposed to be fun. So yeah, when using Excel, there aren't probably many people who are like, yeah, Excel, fun. But most people who play games are probably like, yeah, Super Smash Bros, fun. So that's a little bit of the difference. And I think then from that stems this illusion that like, oh, then making games must also be fun. And it's not always the case. Yeah. All right, take care, Peplon. Thanks again for the sub. Full agreement reached. Okay, good. So I don't think we're going to do this anymore. Yeah, I don't think we're going to do this. Oh, this is going to be a big change. So we're going to pretty much delete. There's going to be no need for an init function at all. All right, then let's start by just, yeah. There's one at a time. So no init function for the battle system. Or at least not the same way. No. We could still have an init. The init function for the battle system, if it exists, would just be told about which characters should exist. And the instance did this originally. I don't care about the next stage part of this. Initialize battle system. We get the characters. So we're just going to pass in the adventurers, and we're going to pass in a list of enemy IDs. Yep, that's what I want. And what are the adventurers stored as? Create, it's there. I read only list. Okay, that's what we want there. Yeah, this is going to take some time, but I think this will be much better in the end. So adventurers and then a list of enemy IDs, which we don't actually have anywhere as far as I know, because we just forced them all to be bats. Is that correct? Where do we even say that they're bats? Oh, instance ID. It comes from the instance. Okay. But the number of enemies also comes from the instance. Okay, we could just pass in the instance data then, right? Yeah, we could just pass in an instance ID. Yeah, I think that's fine. All right, instance ID, and then int stage number. I remember you programmed your lights to change colors based on what's happening on Twitch, but that's from a while back. You still have those? I still have the lights, but now that I use a green screen, I think changing the color would make the green screen kind of flicker. So I just got rid of that. Yeah. Actually, I really should take a break. Let me finish what I started here. No, let's not finish. Let's just write where I left off. All right, where I left off, getting battle system.init to be different. The beginning of a battle. Don't worry about future stages yet. All right, take care, Liquidor. There's an error in your notes. What? What is it? Oh, God. I'm holding off on my break for this, Remy. -5 points to Gryffindor. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Again, for anyone new here, just type join in chat. It's got to be Twitch chat, not YouTube. I'll be back in a few minutes. Have fun playing. Yeah, Fancy Pixel, you did join, but since you didn't jump, you're just here with your name showing. You can always join on this screen. Oh, I can't show this at the same time, but if I type join and then, you type like R15, you'll jump. Wee. All right, close the game. So battlesystem.init has changed. I need to fix so much. Initialize battle system. This is the first time we do this. So we're going to have adventurers and then the instance ID. And then the current stage, is this one indexed? It is. Cannot convert from instance ID to instance ID. What? Are there two different instance IDs? Oh, I just never imported this. Any other errors here? There shouldn't be. This doesn't do what I want it to do yet, but we'll get there. Now, whether we'll get there in the next hour, I don't know, but we'll get there. Okay, so now create adventurers, create player battlers. Here it is. This stuff needs to be inside the battle system. And how we do this is going to be totally different. But now nothing should be calling this. Well, nothing's calling it now. Yeah, so now we copy paste this out of here. And we put this into here. Before I continue doing this, let me think if this is a dumb idea. So in the future, what if we had dungeon layouts where there were enemies there ahead of time? We need to create all of those battle systems. Yeah, but they'd be in their own rooms. So a battle system essentially represents a room right now. Okay. I think this makes a little bit more sense. All right, let's keep trying this stuff out. This returned a collection. I don't think we actually need a collection anymore. It could just be create. So we delete the collection, but we do need to add them to this battlers here. All right. This is going to be great when this works because we'll just be able to summon stuff. So not return battlers, but we're going to do this dot add battler. Yeah, cool. Okay, now we just gotta fix all these problems. All right, that's done. Get grid position of battler. Get grid position. That's here, and then get position. I guess both of these are gonna have to move. It's good that this stuff is changing. I think this is gonna be slightly better for this. All right, battlers.add, that is not needed anymore. Battler to adventurer. This was done here. Is this needed? This is literally used in one spot? Oh, well, that's convenient. Take adventurers out of battle. So then I guess we could put this in the battle system. Oh. Hey, Digit. Have you thought of creating an entity struct which holds the ID of the entity and allows faster access to components instead of having to do ECS.get component all the time? So, these components need to be stored somewhere. And the way that they're done right now is there is a node added to an entity, like a components node. And that's a Godot node. So it's actually in the scene tree. And that way, any Godot entity, which is just a node, can have this thing added to it. If we don't have that, we need to store it in some kind of like singleton lookup for all the components that might exist, which is, I guess, what you're talking about. But even then, it's like, where do you store the entity ID? There still needs to be, that needs to be somewhere. So imagine you have your, like, I don't know, imagine you're making, whatever, Mario Kart, and you have like a cart object. This is going to extend node or node 2D or node 3D or something like that. But then you need to put in an entity ID somewhere. So you put in an entity ID inside cart. Well, you need this inside of every single object you have. So this ECS stuff that we keep calling like ECS.getComponent is a way of us saying We know there's going to be a components node in the scene tree, so let's store all of our information there. That way, something like adventurer doesn't need to put its own entity ID inside of it. So this wasn't like just a willy-nilly solution here. This was thought out, and there might be a better way, but I don't think there's a problem so much with the current way, unless you say it's the verbosity of having to call ECS deck a component, which, I mean, it's not super verbose. Okay, just less verbosity, yeah. ECS get entity. But that's not even less verbose what you're suggesting, right? Like, you need, anyway, that doesn't necessarily matter, I think, but you need to get the ID, and then you need to store the entity and then get something based on the entity. And if you're doing multiple calls on the same entity, I guess maybe then it'd be less verbose for that, but yeah. Anyway, I don't think there's too much of a problem right now. I think there are probably some little things we could do to maybe get some wins there, but that there's nothing majorly wrong. Okay, so take adventures out of battle. This is where we had this battler to adventurer thing. And since the battlers exist in the context of a battle system, I think this should be out of here too. Work with entity structs then instead of ints. It's, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't think there's a major issue. Also, I hope I don't sound like I'm being defensive here. I'm trying to explain and still not forget the context in my head. So this would have to be moved because we won't have this battler to adventurer. And this is only ever called in 2 spots. Okay, so let's do this. This is a sort of fun experience sometimes, refactoring, because it's like a puzzle. You have to figure out where do things belong. And how are you going to get things working in the meantime? So like I'm cutting some of this stuff out. Where did this go? Take adventures out of battle. Here. Yeah, this needs to now move into the battle system. Okay, so we go through battlers. Why do we even do this though? Why don't we just iterate over battler to adventurer? I think we can do that. I'm going to write this down just as a cleanup thing because I don't want to context shift to that just yet. So I think this can iterate over this instead of battlers. In pure C sharp. Okay, so I did not do this in pure C sharp. Our component node is a Godot component and thus needs to use Godot. And then there are some components that rely on having access to Godot. Where is it? Where's an example of this? Like animated sprite component? No, that's not one. I don't know. Anyway, there's probably something. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not pure C sharp. Okay, so now this isn't needed. Delete that. Now the errors are just going to be battle system dot. Now it says an object reference is needed. Did we not call it battle system? Oh, it's underscore battle system. Well. Wait, what? it's like case insensitively searching for this. All right, whatever, fine. There. Okay, so this is all gonna be broken too. That's okay. We're getting to this. Create player battlers. So now adventurer data, this part's easy enough. The battlers node, where was this set? In the instance. Wait a second, then how do projectiles work? What? Oh man, okay. Okay. All right, I think this is pointing to another problem. I think this is not a battle system anymore. This is a battle. which means it needs to be a node, which means it needs to be outside of system, which means it needs to track all this stuff itself. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, there's a lot of cleanup stuff we're gonna have to do. Battle system should be renamed to battle. It should just be a node or node 2D under instance. So it should no longer exist in system. Actually, it shouldn't even be battle, right? It's technically like instance room. Yeah, the battle of refactoring. We need a refactoring system. Okay, there's a reason why I wanted to do things this way. Let's go take a look at instance. Instance has a system, and under system, this is where. Oh man. Okay. Let's do this one step at a time. So let's pass in. Oh man. Let's pass these things in to the battle system. Make a new one of these, but this is a partial class, right? So we need to init it. Battle system.init. Yeah, this one. We'd also pass in these nodes. Okay, so find battlers node. Or we could just, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I was gonna say we could fetch these from battle system by using the parent, because we know the relative path. It's going to be the parent of that is systems, the parent of that is instance. So you do get parent, and then get battlers and projectiles. That's probably, as long as I'm using temporary solutions for this anyway, that's probably a slightly more elegant temporary solution. Not that we should be measuring the elegance of temporary solutions since they're temporary. But let's do that. Do we have a ready? Yeah, we do have a ready. Okay. So we'll paste these things in here, delete this, get those nodes, put them here, and then get this from get parent. So this is, I guess technically this is like the instance node. Node, what is this? Get parent returns node. Yeah, so node instance equals get parent. And then this is going to be instance.getNode, instance.getNode. Camera might be a little off. I can see stuff on the right. You're right. I think it's a green screen that's a little off. All right. Did I fix it? I think I fixed it. Thank you, Toulouse. And hi. Are you in a lot of meetings today too? Oh man, there are probably so many red squigglies everywhere. Yeah, we can't do this stuff. We can't do this stuff. Nothing will work anymore. Oh man. It feels like always meetings out. Did you become a lead or a manager or something at some point? Because I feel like that's what usually leads to more meetings. Or maybe you always were one and I just didn't know. I asked Toulouse when I'd like kind of gotten back to Twitch, I'm like, hey, what happened in the last 3 years for you? He was like, yeah, nothing much. He said a little bit more, which I'm not going to repeat because there might have been, I don't know if he considers it personal, but it's very funny. I feel like if you ask anyone what happened in the last 3 years for you, they wouldn't say nothing much. Become an architect, never really wanted to manage people. I see. Okay. Yeah. I don't do much. No, I don't think that's true. I don't think it's that you don't do much. I think it's that like nothing noteworthy popped to your mind in that time. But there must have been something. You did, like I said, you did say something and I remember what it was. I don't want to share that here now. But the reason I brought this up is because you might have gotten a gigantic promotion or something and just been like, yeah, nothing changed. Hey, Andre. So much for getting work done today. Well, that's why you got me. So you can watch me not get work done. Except for actually I'm doing some stuff here. I'm just taking my time doing it. All right, add projectile called this now. It's not going to do that anymore. It's just going to add it right to the node. We don't need this signal, which means we don't need to connect this signal over here. Yep. Delete that from here too. On projectile created. Yeah, I don't care about that. All right, any others for that? Projectile hit. Oh, that's for fireball, though. That's fine. Yep. Okay, that looks good. Whew. Are we almost ready to finish this one function? IEnumerable node does not contain a definition for add. Really? Really? Well, what did this used to be? Probably just a collection, right? Where are you? Where are you indeed? Oh, come on. Where did I put this thing? IEnumerable create. There it was. And what did it return? It was a collection. Yeah, collection. Okay, so that's what we want then. We want a collection here. They're afraid of losing you. Too much internal knowledge. They're lucky I'm lazy. Well, it sounds like you're doing a good job. I mean, you're an architect, you're in meetings all the time. This is all just a joke. Toulouse is a Minecraft architect. There is no job. It's just putting block after block down. Sad we have no more Visual Studio for Mac. I think you technically still have it for another month. And even then, I don't know if they're going to remove it completely. But yeah, I guess if you rely on it and you were using it, that at some point just not having support for it would be a bummer. All right, so now this changes. This is going to be a collection. I don't think you can just say collection like this, can you? Apparently you can, but I don't know. Oh, right, it's backed by a list by default. I looked that up. So I was wondering about the time complexity of everything. All right, are we finally good here? Why is this yellow? Remove unused method. Oh, I don't care about that yet. All right, yes, there is no red in this function. There's just yellow. So now we go to init and we call this create adventurers. One function done. Now for 12 other functions. You prefer for C#? Yeah. Well, there is an alternative, I guess, which maybe you won't like, but JetBrains made an IDE called Rider, and I've heard very good things about it, but I haven't actually used it myself. But it does cost money, I think, every month. You use that? Yeah. Wait, what? Czech? I thought it was Russian. Oh. Founded by 3 Russian software developers. Huh. When I was at Google, I met with some people who worked at JetBrains, and I'm pretty sure they were located in Russia. I'm like nearly positive. So I just thought it was a Russian company. Okay, so we've created player battlers. Now we need to create enemy battlers. And that's where this function comes in. This is just gonna take a lot. All right, so create enemy battlers. This would be from the instance ID, I guess. And don't we need the stage of how? No, that can't work yet. Oh, everything's broken. All right, instance ID. And then the rest of this should mostly work. ID is just instance ID. This isn't even interesting code here. This is just code to tint the characters a little bit, just to give them a slight visual difference. So there is bat, and then there's slightly redder bat, and then there's slightly redder bat. But that's not supposed to stick around. Okay, so now we go up to this. Oh, no, that's going to have to change too. Darn it. Instance ID. All right, what does this do? This returns a collection. Not anymore. Delete all that and call battlers.add I don't know what you're talking about anymore. It's giving up. All right, look at this. Oh, project. I think you want this maybe. Alias project Skell. There we go. So yeah, get position can't work because it relies on the stage, which I never saved. It could pass in this stage, but fine, whatever. Let's pass in the stage. Int stage number. We take that in, which means now anything that calls this needs to take it in. And here too. And now the init function passes that in. Good. Yeah, you're welcome, Ghost. I want more people to learn about what I'm doing. All right, now what? Now we just look for red. Oh, there's a bunch of it. Why? All right, well, let's just delete this for now, I guess. Set up systems. We need a new battle system to be initialized. I'm going to just delete this whole thing for right now. And then uncomment one level of that. So initialize, we now no longer do this stuff, right? Yep, goodbye. Create projectile doesn't even need to exist because nothing calls it. All right, are we good? This might work. If this works, what it's going to do is it's going to make one stage of a battle. Let's try it. What's the reason you need to use Godot in C#? There's no need for it. I mean, whatever you end up picking for a game engine, you almost certainly don't have a need to go with that specific engine and nothing else. I like Godot. And if I plan on using Godot, then the choice was mostly GDScript versus C#. And that's part of the document over here. Why not GDScript? I've got a link to that answer. And the main reason why Godot in the first place, I guess, was I had some experience using it back in 2020 and I liked it. I thought it'd be a good fit for this. And I think so far it has been. I think the quirkiest thing so far has been the pathfinding experience that I was working on in the last week. That was a little bit challenging. And part of it was me and part of it is Godot. But now that I know it, I feel like it should be better. All right, so we press this button and we pray. Nothing's working. All right, but we can see that the number of errors is ticking up. So we'll just reframe this game to error seller. Value cannot be null. Oh, abilities are never set up? Oh, how did I break that? Probably because I deleted all of this code. Well, whoops. There we go. Is Godot like a new, better Unity? I wouldn't say it's a new, better Unity. Unity made a lot of, I'd say, short-sighted decisions when it came to their monetization that really ruffled a lot of feathers and got a lot of funding into Godot and a lot of attention on Godot. So I think that's why you see it be more popular recently. But it's just always existed as an open source game engine. And that on its own is kind of appealing. You never have to worry about, like, is the engine going to change something out from under us and we'll never have control over it again. Want to play some game dev? My artistic skills are almost zero. You don't really need artistic skills for a lot of game dev. If you go to just itch.io and search for asset packs, game assets, there's tons of stuff and it's pretty cheap for what you're getting. Or some of the stuff is actually free. Like this, I think is, yeah, name your own price. So it's not maybe enough to make an entire game, but you can see, if I zoom in on this, you can see this is like, you could imagine making a farming game with just these graphics. And this doesn't look too different from something like, what's that game, Forager? I want to mute this so that it doesn't play anything. Okay, it's already muted. Yeah, it doesn't look too different from Forager, right? Like there's this island and there's some farming stuff, and there's this island and there's some, materials and stuff you can do. So yeah, I don't think you need to necessarily have a lot of artistic skill to make games. You do need a little bit of money, but like some of these asset packs are, $5, $20. It's not like hiring an artist and getting all that art done custom. Yeah, it reminds me of Stardew. Yeah, and the pack I got was Super Retro World. So if you look at this is not the right one. This one. These are the graphics that we're using in this game. So like, yeah, we didn't make these. And getting into 2D art, I guess, is not as bad as getting into something like, photorealistic art. Yeah. Or getting in a 2D sprite work. All right, so start battle. Do they attack each other? Yes, they do. Great. So as soon as this phase ends and this thing goes down to 0 life, I'm expecting to see a whole bunch of errors because I just never coded anything else. Was there an error? No, I probably just commented out all the errors. This is going pretty well, I gotta say. So now shifting between phases in a battle. This is where I commented out, I guess pretty much just this whole function, right? Yep. Okay, so here's what I think we do. And then I think we're done. Adventurers cannot convert from IEnumerable to read-only list. Okay, read-only list. Is that... It's I read-only list? Cannot implicitly convert from IEnumerable to I read-only list. Okay, well then we can just do a toList here. What is it complaining about now? Node to adventurers? Drat. What is this supposed to take in? Adventurers? Can I just make this an adventurer? Probably not because of this, right? Yeah. All right, well, fine, whatever. We can just cast it. We know that they're adventurers, right? Filter battlers, but no, we don't know that. Oh. This has got to be public I read only list. Adventurer, get adventurers. Okay, I mean, that works. Although I don't think I should have to do this either, right? Because we can just get battler to adventurer and get all the adventurers. Return battler to adventurer values. Can be simplified. How? Oh. Do we do this anywhere else? Dot dot space. I guess we do. Okay. I guess we do. Oh, all right. So let's go get that. And then delete this. No, we don't even need this. Wait a second. We can just delete it entirely. Yeah, also, this is technically not needed. We could just store which adventurers are being used here. Yeah, that's a much smarter idea. All right, we'll write that in cleanup for right now. Store which adventurers were passed into the instance so that we can delete get adventurers. However, get adventurers may still be a good idea to keep around because you can't just get player battlers or you'll get summons as well. Oh, wait a second though. Maybe we want summons. Oh, hey, Nuka Deluca. Hey, Nuka, I wanted to ask you about your game. Is it intended to be multiplayer with like friends you already have, or is it supposed to be multiplayer with like you find random people online? Like Terraria is a game where you play with friends you already have. There's no like matchmaking. Multi with friends. Okay, good. Yeah. I was gonna say, because I think the more I've realized, the more like multiplayer with strangers, I feel like this style of game I don't know how to exactly phrase this, but its its lifespan seems to have decreased in the last decade or so. Like, I've been playing the finals, and it seems like they release content and there's this spike of player count, and then it like very drastically drops off. And with WoW, it was the same thing, like a new expansion or a patch, and you'd see a spike in player count, and then it would drop off. And someone was just talking about Warcraft Rumble, which I haven't played, but they said, well, I don't actually know what the player numbers are for this, but yeah. Anyway, I think this whole concept is now like it's a game style I don't think I ever want to make myself. I think a multiplayer with friends kind of game is the way to go. People don't want to play with randos anymore. It's wild. I don't know if it's that people don't want to play with randos. I think what it is, I think it's there's like a flavor of the month kind of game, and I think everyone's very affected by social media now. Like you look at Twitch and you look at YouTube, and you're probably playing some of the games that you're watching on these sites. And these games don't have infinite appeal, so the streamers need to move on. And when the streamers move on, then there's less attention on these games, and then people are playing it less. So there's a smaller pool of players to play from when you're matching with these people. And yeah. Yeah, so I think it'd be really cool though to make a game like a Terraria or a Stardew Valley where yeah, you play with other people but you're playing with just your friends. All right, this is not just cleanup work. This is a question of like, do summons persist between battles? Actually, if summons persist, or not between battles, between stages of a battle, then we need to move them along too. They may not have walking animations though. Think about that. AI would have answered that. Are you Turing testing me? All right. Did we get it working? Let's try. Now, before I start this battle, I'm going to level up my character a couple times so that they're slightly faster at killing the enemy there. Now they do 3 damage instead of 2 damage. Actually, I think this is rounded. Yeah, wait, no. I don't remember. Now, the question is, does stage 2 work? Well, it looks like it does. Wow, okay, cool. Wow. All right, well, now I might as well watch it and make sure it finishes the game. So it finishes the battle. Let's speed this up a little bit. There we go. And yeah, it worked. Very, very nice. WoW is WoW, and the finals have so many cheaters. Yeah, but like I said, I think this stuff was different back in the early 2000s. There weren't that many free multiplayer games that were like massively popular. I feel like this was like Blizzard's reign back then. Diablo, Warcraft, and StarCraft were all very, very popular. And then you had AoE, Age of Empires. You had the FPSs of the days like Quake and Unreal. And these games were all super popular. Oh yeah, CSGO or CS, whatever version of CS there was. No, this is before Minecraft. This is like early 2000s. Minecraft, I think, left beta in 2010. But Minecraft is a little bit unique, and then it's both kinds of multiplayer. There were, yeah, MMOs, I guess. There were a lot of MMOs. There was, yeah, RuneScape, and I don't need to write all these out, but yeah, there were RuneScape and, what was common back then? Oh, God. Ultima is probably sort of just kind of ending. Anyway, oh yeah, Final Fantasy 11. Minecraft left beta, but Minecraft is both kinds of multiplayer. It's play with friends and play with strangers. And I suspect more people do the play with friends thing, but they have realms. They had like this gigantic server list. You could just go join random things. So back then, there just weren't as many choices. But now I feel like it's easier to make a multiplayer game where you can play with strangers and have a matchmaking service and not have this totally break your bank or need to host a room full of computers. So if more games can do it, then more games are doing it. And now it's like, well, why stick with a game for 12 years unless you're really having fun playing it? So in my mind, that's more what it's about than that people don't want to play with random players. I think, yeah, I think it's all about just capturing attention. I think the same thing happened back in like the console days. If you had a Nintendo or Super Nintendo or N64 or something like that, you were paying somewhere between like $30 to $70 for a game. And that game was all you'd have for some amount of time. And like I said, nowadays, if you look at people's Steam libraries, I think a lot of people in this stream probably have Steam games that they've never played before, and yet you own them. Like, I know I have a friend with probably tens of games that they've just never played. Don't call me out. Well, and it's like Epic Games releases a new free game every Thursday. I've been claiming them for years, and I've played like 3 of them. It's just you don't have the same scarcity of games that we had way back then. So much arguably good quality game. Oh yeah. I'm not saying they're all bad games or something. I'm just saying there are way more games, and with way more games means you need to be more selective about which ones you're picking. If you only had a Nintendo 64 and there were what, like 400 games total or something, and 64 games. I don't know how many fully licensed games there were. This was a dumb search. 388. Wow, that's actually pretty close. Yeah, there were like 400 games. Whereas on Steam, I bet there are more than 400 games released every day. So yeah, you would just be like, oh, I guess I'm getting Zelda. I guess I'm getting GoldenEye. I thought this was a safe space. Okay, so now we can code summon. Yeah, create a battle at that slot. We need to do this stuff. But we need to make this for the right team. Also, isn't there some offset that happens? Yeah, this get position of battler. I'm going to just copy paste all this, and I want to see if we can get this to work, and then I'll refactor this in a bit. Where is summon? Yeah, here. So this part is problematic, get position of battler, because this is based on okay, fine. Then let's undo this. Whoops. Oh my God, stupid Apple Music. I want to uninstall that completely. I like accidentally press the play key on my keyboard sometimes, and it's like, oh, music. I know just the program. All right, so get position of battler should be based on the grid position and nothing else, right? Battler index. Yeah. That's all it should be based on. Okay, so vector 2i grid position. So delete that. And now now those need to change to take in the grid position. And this. Cool. Now we finally copy paste all of this over to there again. Where is summon? Here it is. Okay, so delete the color stuff. I don't care about that. The grid position is going to be the slot. We could just call it grid position. Stage number is, oh, stage number is not stored anywhere. All right, let's just set this to 1 for right now. But that's wrong. So I need to write that down next. Need to have a way to get stage number in summon. And then enemy ID, the enemy ID is always going to be bat. Why are there 3 kinds of bats? What is the difference? Oh, they all have different stats. Yeah, I was going to say they all use the same graphic, but yeah, they have different stats. All right, fine. Well, I don't care. Forest bat, doesn't matter. I'm just testing this for right now. Now add a new health component, add a new battle stats component, add this stuff, give it a basic attack. Actually, you know what we could do? We could give it the fireball attack, just for laughs. And then something's wrong with the team here. There it is. Yeah, team.enemy. This should be... Why are there so many enemies here? Team. Oh, and then this should technically be enemy ID, I guess. Okay, fine. All right, now we just call summon from something. What do we want to call it? I guess init. We'll summon something for the... Oh, it's going to need... It's going to need this stuff. Okay, got to write that down too. Instead of adding components in init, we need to add them when creating the battlers. And then creating player and enemy battlers should be merged as much as possible. And then see how else split battle system. Yeah. Cool. So we're going to summon a bat for the player. And the bat's going to shoot fireballs. And if this works, then cool. We've got the underpinnings of this system. There's a bat. It's facing the wrong way. And it's shooting fireballs the wrong way. Oh boy. Why is it facing the wrong way? Oh, because of the... I think I know why. Oh, wait. Is this more insidious than I thought? Is this because Battler has some like hard-coded thing saying to face left if you're an enemy? There is no flip code here. Oh, wait a sec. It's different. It's not even that. It's that literally the graphics themselves only ever face the direction they're supposed to face, and there is no code to change it. Maybe Fireball has code to change it. Does Fireball have code to change it? It would because it's a sprite. Okay, but where's the bat? Where are the bats? There they are. What do you look like? You face left. Yeah. So that's the problem. Is it positioned correctly and it's just facing left? It looked like it was too close to the adventurer. Yeah, it's got to be too close. Right? Oh, I think I know why. Okay, there's a lot to do. Get summons to face the correct directions. Position this. Where do we do this? There should be a space of 2. How did that not work? Yeah, because I think if I added in all the bats, they would. Let's just do this in a for loop for. We're gonna add in 30, but only 8 should get added in for real. So that's gonna test that part of the code. Okay, yeah. Yeah, they're just getting spaced out wrong. They're shooting fireballs wrong. And they're immediately killing the enemy. Oh, and now you lost all your bats. Get position. So what did this code used to do? Also, I gotta keep an eye on time. Instance used to position everything. And how did it position? Get position, here it is. Row and column times 2. Well, well, well. Now I know the secret. So grid position dot x times 2 times 2. Nice. Nice. Man, it looks so cool. I know it's backwards, but yeah, so cool. Yeah, this is going to take the rest of the day to do. But we got the underpinnings. And like I said, that's the important part. So get fireballs to face the correct directions. I'm feeling pretty good. This is also a lot more work than I thought it would be. And I think we still have a bunch to do. Well, these can all be fixed. There's a way to remove all of them. Yeah, there we go. Hey, Skididdy. I'm doing well. We just got the ability to create summons in the game. So I have 8 bats on my team just to show that this works. Unfortunately, they look like they're facing the wrong direction. Hang on, let me grant money here so I can hire another adventurer. Yeah, they're facing the wrong direction, and the fireballs that they shoot are facing the wrong direction. But other than that, looking pretty good. Actually, this probably means... Wait, what just happened there? Oh, fireballs are shooting from the... Oh, that's not good. I don't know. I don't know. I hadn't seen that before. But apparently the bats still exist. They're just scrolled off screen. Oh, and even the adventurer still exists there. Oh, that's a problem. Summons don't get deleted between phases. How is that even possible? And even adventurers don't get deleted between phases. Are they doing damage multiple times? Let's cut this code out and run this. I guess the easiest way to check would be to hire the mage. So start a battle and then this one. Okay, so the mage shoots fireballs, which is what's going to make it obvious if a fireball is being shot from an earlier phase. And now let's speed this up. Okay. Is a fireball still showing up from way over here? No. But why does it exist there? Because we never delete the battlers. And the... Wait. Whatever deleted this in the first place? Nothing. They just got reinitialized. So the problem is we're only ever adding battlers. Yeah. Okay, I see what's going on. But then why do the bats still shoot? Yeah, that part doesn't make sense. This is because we just keep adding to the battlers node. I don't know why they're functional. They're shooting fireballs. Like in the first stage, they're functional because they're supposed to be. That's working fine. So these bats shooting fireballs is fine. But then why in the second stage are they still shooting? And that actually counts as damage, right? Yes, it does. Okay, very, very interesting. Maybe not adding 30 summons and only one. Well, yeah, eventually it shouldn't be 30, but why are they being updated is what I'm wondering about. And I don't think anything should be updating them. So when we go to another stage of a battle, we recreate these systems entirely. Yeah, they're just completely deleted. So those bats shouldn't even exist anymore. I have get adventurers here, which should only be getting, yeah, the actual adventurers. That's the reason why we only see the adventurer in the new phase. But then how are they still functioning? Battlers, wait. Oh, wait. Let me take a look at something. Because we're summoning them in the wrong spot. I know why. Yeah, that's why. Because a knit is being called, and these are just being summoned in the wrong battle, I guess. Oh, because summon doesn't know about this state. Oh my god, because I hard-coded this to 1. Ugh. I wrote a task to fix that. I just hadn't gotten to the task because I saw the bug before I realized it was related to that task. Okay, well, this fixes that problem. That makes a lot more sense. Wow, that was a little tough to come to the conclusion of. All right, so now we'll have summons in every part of the battle. They'll just show up in the right spot. They won't get deleted from the old battles, but they won't shoot fireballs from those battles. Yeah, so they look like they're there still. They're not. They don't shoot fireballs. Yeah, perfect. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted. Okay, let me think about this. Mentoring is in half an hour, and prep usually takes 10 minutes, and I need a 5-minute break. So I guess at like 10:45 at the latest, I should take a break. So maybe we say 1040 then, and it's currently 1031. Yeah. Well, window manager is that? This is Mac. There's no special window manager, I guess. Although, well, maybe there kind of is. I've got in the FAQ of the stream itself, there is this: what program are you using for, whatever. And the utility programs I use are these two: Alt Tab and Rectangle. Rectangle lets me just move windows like this, and Alt Tab just changes the Alt Tab dialog. Whoops. And then I have kind of a crazy mouse that also can let me move windows around. So, whoops. Well, I guess I'm moving OBS right now, but yeah. And I wrote some hammer spoon scripts that let me switch between windows. Oh, this has to be deleted. Gotta write a note about that. Crazy mouse. Killer DJ. Get rid of the bit about highlighting windows with hammer spoon. All right, so we got about 9 minutes left. What are the things I can tackle in that time? Oh, I guess that's done now. That way summoning can be done mid-battle. All right, maybe we can delete these between phases. So how do we do that? I guess we need a destroy here. No, actually this is dumb, right? Because destroy is going to delete all of the battlers that we have, but it's also going to be pointless. I meant to say something a little bit more poignant than that, but let's just do this. So we got to get set up systems. We're going to get all the battlers in the battler node and just free all the children. How do we do that? I don't think we can do that way. I think we need to do for each node child in get children. Child die. Actually, child could just be freed immediately. Okay, so free up battlers from previous stages. And then this, I don't know, I didn't write it down exactly, but battles should store battlers and projectiles themselves. Actually, should it? I don't even know if this is true. No, I don't think that is true. And I don't know if we should delete these. I think, I don't know how I want to do this. Maybe. No work before freeing them? No, I don't think there's anything to do before freeing them. Although I'm not sure that I want to do this exactly. But let's try it and see if it's working. So now these should all go away when the battle is done, right? Yeah, so now they're gone from here. And then they're gone from there. Yeah, perfect. Okay. The reason I said I don't know if I want to free them is because we have a couple of tasks that I'm not going to do today, but something like adventurers should walk between the stages. So for them to walk between the stages means they need to actually render themselves moving. The other thing I don't know about, I'm not sure what I want to do here, is should summons persist between stages? And I feel like my gut answer here is some summons probably should, but not all of them. Just make it an artistic choice. Yeah. You can have a teleport animation. Oh, yeah, you could have a teleport animation. I don't think there's a problem to make them walk, though. I think it would look cool. Anyway, based on the answers of these things, we may or may not want to do this. But, yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, we still need to consolidate how we make battlers. So this is now done. Yeah, and then this is what we should probably do next. Just call them stab. Oh, you responded to a message. I was like, what does teleporting have to do with stab? I want to teleport where you just melt into the floor. When you don't even come back. You're just part of the floor now. All right, I think I should take my break, and then we should probably switch into mentoring mode. Summon stuff. Yeah, this has been pretty good progress, though. We completely revamped the battle system, but just from a code perspective, so that summons will work. And we just proved that summons will work here. And we gave them a special ability, which is Fireball, just to prove that that works too. So you could put in whatever abilities you want here. And that way you could summon something that has whatever, a heal ability or something. Or maybe you summon something that only casts buffs on your character or debuffs on the enemies. They don't all just have to be like basic attackers. Yeah, you probably should remind yourself of what you want to talk about, Remy. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to take a break. Then we're going to start pivoting into mentoring mode because it's about that time. Yeah, I'll be back in a little bit. Is it jump time? It's jump time. I want to remind everybody that you can revive in Jump Royale, with channel points, but close the game. No need to do that now. Jordy, you asked, when you get back, I was wondering, how do you select the people for mentoring? So this is kind of a weird, kind of a weird answer, but back in, I think 2020, I just said, would anyone be interested in mentoring? And a bunch of people said yes. And I just wrote their names down. And then like 3-4 years later, I was like, hey, I'm going to do mentoring. Are you still interested? So that's how I chose them. In the future, I don't know how I'm going to choose other mentees. I'm actually not even sure how the program is going to change, because we're coming up to the end of the mentoring series for these mentees. I always said I want to do somewhere between 6 and 9 sessions, and we haven't actually done a 6th session with anybody yet. But I mean, that's happening pretty soon. So by the end of the year, we should be probably done with the mentoring series for these people. And then, yeah, do I do more of these sessions? Do I change it? Do I make them paid? Crazy long waiting list. Yeah. All right. So where's mentoring prep? Okay. Step 1 is go read through the document. And then step 2 is do the mentoring. All right. So yeah, I like doing this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do for once? I'm going to write it directly in the Google Doc instead of writing it in VS Code. Okay, so last time we met was 2 months ago. I really got to refresh my memory on all this stuff. Virtual routes that are completely stale right now. Too much other stuff going on. Still wants to continue it. Too much other stuff going on to get joy out of it. Just wants to relax when he gets home. Should change on its own. Trying to sell his place right now. Then there's remodeling. Should be more free time. All right, so question, do you have more free time? You said you wanted to work on virtual route setter when you had more free time and that you thought it would happen naturally. Yeah, I remember the big thing that we were talking about last time, at least I think it was last time, maybe it was the time before that, was Remy does a lot and doesn't know how to not do a lot. Yeah, that was this. Said he wants to go all in on something. It's all or nothing, climbing, coding, eating. He sees this as a good thing most of the time. Competition and work where he's going for the victory. Yeah. Better have one leader. Typically see problems from going all in. Just going through your head, just having fun. Yeah, inject breaks. So I think this is the important thing. Have you injected breaks into things? So going all in. And have you seen other problems arise from this? Yeah. Try setting a timer. Play a game, new coding project. Yeah. Okay, doom scrolling, still on Duolingo streak. Great, most days. He's trying to do more than the bare minimum. Wants to play a Pokemon game in Spanish. Oh yeah, I want to ask about that. When do you actually start the Pokemon game in Spanish? Because I imagine, I think it's a good goal to have for learning the language, but with Pokemon in particular, I imagine that you could play it in literally any language and still have a pretty good idea of what's going on because you already know the Pokemon and you already know the moves. So you could probably fill in most of the blanks yourself. But anyway, let's see. End up opening Discord. You need to hit the boredom point because they're trying a screen time app. Yeah. Have you tried limiting your phone time in any way? Yeah. And I wrote a bunch of stars here. Transition period, checking after a couple months. Remy just, I believe, just moved, has been sick like 14 times this year. And what else? I guess they're all the work obligations of switching to Azure. So yeah, I wonder if this stuff is going to naturally get better. Also, we had commented that maybe this is a transition period and to give yourself some grace for that time. Is you the same Remy? Yes. You is. You try answering a question like this. Yeah, have you tried any mindfulness exercises? Tell Remy about TIFT, which is something I just came up with recently. So stay tuned to find out. There wouldn't even be any proof, would it? How would you know that the Remy on the screen is the same as the Remy in chat? All right, negative image cupcake with whipped cream. A lot of nonsensical stuff about that. House buying retrospectives. What difficulties have you overcome? What stresses did you work through? How's it selling fast? How do you feel you're better equipped to do this? Doesn't know if he is. Hopes to not have to buy another house. He'd be able to answer this better when he's totally through the moving phase. Yeah. I wanna ask about this. How is it going? And you mentioned I had asked you how you would be better equipped for this whole process next time around. And you said to ask when you're further along in the process. Yeah. That's not how to clickbait people. Like, unless you have, a post-it note on your forehead that says Remy RM. Find out how the training went and what you learned and the impact. Oh, yeah. Wait, did I scroll down too far? Yeah, I did. Azure training, that was at the end of April. So that was just after the session. So Azure training, how did it go? What did you learn? What impact did it have on your work? Everyone's working hard. An adjustment. Manager's already dropped some tasks. Yeah. Feels guilty that he's getting leeway and not fulfilling his own expectations. Okay, I definitely want to ask about that. Work, you said that you felt guilty last time about getting leeway and still not meeting expectations. I think the expectations are too high. Yes. Have you lowered them? Have you lowered your expectations? This is a common problem, though, I think. I think people expect a lot of themselves, especially if you're in a mentoring situation. I think people are more likely to want to improve themselves and want to hold themselves to a high standard. And when everything is going well, but you don't think it's going well enough, then you are pretty much just creating stress for yourself. And I know easier said than done that, okay, stop creating stress for yourself, but at least identifying that you're in that situation, I think is good. Wait, signed up for the management focus training, but that's after summer. Okay, yeah. All right, taking time off when sick. Real sickness, it's intense enough where it won't work. Cut himself slack. The repercussion for doing this is the bullet point above this. Stress levels have been at an all-time high. Stress in general. What's your stress level? Actually, I'll just put this up here because I think this is part of going all in. How are you cutting yourself slack and being nice to Remy? That's the important question I want to ask. Recognize the change in circumstances and adapt to those. Yeah, shall we try a tenant system? Person, yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah. I think I'm set for this. There's one thing I want to ask about, which is the management program, but that's for next time. So I guess I'll just write this here, star ask about the management training program next time. It hasn't happened yet. Well, at least I don't think it's happened yet. Yeah, we'll find out, I guess, but okay, cool. So, Remy, are you ready? Because I can probably be ready in the next like 4 minutes, which would be 5 minutes early. And if not, don't worry. I'm totally fine. Okay, yeah. All right, then yeah, I'll set up for this stuff. So go into studio mode, click this button, set that to virtual cam, switch to mentoring scene. I've got to automate some of these steps. I don't even know where my mentoring scene is. What? There it is. All right, open Yada. Just finished a last minute improvement. Well, I look forward to hearing about it. Neat. Okay, OBS. Chrome, left half of right monitor, hide the menus. Cool. Discord on the left monitor so I don't leak a conversation. Pop it out, put it on the right monitor. Read the last session, hide the outline view. Already did that. All right, so change stream title. Let's go do this. One-on-one mentoring, Remy, session number 5, I think. I have it written down. It is session number 5, yeah, June 26th. Yep. Is there something you don't have in a note? No. My entire brain is in a note. All right, I'm going to change the title of this on Twitch. Oh, before I do that, let me copy paste the old title that we have here. This. Okay, and then drop Godot engine, C#. I got to re-add these tags later. So stupid. All right, there we go. And then edit the today command. Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't seen this, I am about to be doing career mentoring for Remy. This is not something that I've sort of like proven as a content segment. We've done maybe 15 or 16 sessions across all the mentees so far. And I think it's generally been good, but it's not a very interactive time. I'm mostly just talking to the mentee and not to chat. So I don't know. I think it's helped some people and I like doing it. But you might not enjoy this section. So we'll see how it goes. All right, now I just need to set up these windows. Mentoring stream prep. There we go. Yada. There we go. And then Discord. Just have to call Remy. Give me a sec. Switch over to this. Cool. Now Yada's being cut off by my hair. That should fix it. Yeah. Well, I guess we could expand the size of this too, right? Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna call up Remy. Hope everything just works here. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Couldn't find any tape to tape it to my forehead, otherwise I would have done it for sure.
Well, now you just need
yes,
to.
that was my last minute improvement.
Yeah, you need to just put that on your face the whole time now. Let me kick off the session. Whoop, that didn't work. There we go. All right, and chat, can you hear Remy? Okay, Remy, can you share how you're feeling?
Tired? Very tired, but all right.
Okay. So puffing. Okay. Well, if the audio doesn't ever sound good for part of this, just let me know if I sound louder than Remy or vice versa. Yeah. So
Also,
why don't we kick this off?
If you can hear some children yell outside, let me know and I'll go and close the window. But preferably not because it's very hot in here. But they're being really loud, so.
I don't hear
let me know.
anything, but yeah, maybe chat will at some point.
All right. Good.
So yeah,
I'm ready to start.
Yeah, you said you're unprepared for today.
Oh man, I've been unprepared for anything lately, so this isn't an exception. Uh, yeah, mostly because as you mentioned, I bought a house. I got the keys last month, and it's just been renovating all day, every day since then. So that's just outside of work, that's just taking up all my time. Uh, so yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I knew it was today, but then you pinged me. I was like, oh yeah, it is today. I have to prepare for this as well. It's not just Adam doing stuff.
Well, but this
So
isn't okay. I don't mean this to make you feel bad or anything, but this isn't too different from normal, right? Don't you normally just type your notes like in the hour right before a session?
yes, but normally I think about it before I type it out, and this was just like, oh wait, what do I want to talk about today?
Okay, I see. All right.
So
Well,
the action isn't different, but how I approach it is different.
yeah. That's totally fine. I think we can still find value for you today, and there are some questions that I had too. Let me just see really fast. Okay, yeah, there's a bit of lag between your audio and video, which I wouldn't worry about, but it sounds like audio levels are fine. So,
Okay.
virtual route setter, you said on complete hiatus, still planning to pick it up once life settles down. I think that's pretty much business as usual. Doesn't sound like anything's really changed there.
Yeah, no, nothing,
Yeah,
nothing's changed on that. Like it's still something I think about, and I really still want to continue, but just now is not the right moment for it. So
yeah. I will say this. I think it's worth it that you realize that you can't fit this in right now because you've mentioned going all in on stuff. It would be really bad if you were like, wow, I'm already pushed to my limit, but I'm still going to find time to code. I think that would be just too much. Um,
I agree. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Like if I get home right now, it's just crash down on the couch and watch some movies or play some Final Fantasy 14 lately, and just full relax and not doing anything productive at home.
Yeah. And
So
I think that's good. I think it's totally fine. How long do you think you'll be in this phase for?
I've been in it for a month now, and it will be at least another month.
Okay. Yeah. Probably another month. Um, So I mentioned to you last time that I think it's worth identifying when you're in a transition phase and you've got a very obvious one right now. You just mentioned you just got the keys, you're renovating the house. Um, at some point, you will then be sort of transitioning back into whatever you consider normal Remy to be. And that's when, yeah, maybe you can start tackling an extra code project or you'll feel more like your head is above water. And just keep an eye on that. Like you said, it'll probably be another month. It might be 2 months. It might be three. I hope it's not that long, but yeah, I hope you get all settled down and everything. Yeah, tell me about the
Yeah,
house.
yeah, no, it's great. So the house itself is actually fine. Like if I wanted to, I could have just straight up moved in. But the guy I bought it from lived there for 60 years. Like it was his first house, and the inside looked like he lived there for 60 years. I don't think he did much renovating over the years. So we completely took out all the ceilings, repainted all the walls, all the ceilings. There was actually a black ceiling beneath some woodwork that was in the ceiling. So that took like 10 liters of paint. It was crazy. So yeah, putting in new ceilings, isolating everything, painting everything, new floors, new everything. So yeah, but no, everything is great. I actually had some time early today to sit in the garden and take a bit of a breather, and I was like, oh, this is so nice having my own garden to sit in, and like it's nice and peaceful and quiet. And I met some neighbors, and they were nice. So yeah, no, really loving it already, even though I don't live there yet.
Well, that's good. Congratulations for sure.
Thank
How
you.
much of this work are
Thanks.
you doing yourself on the house?
Everything.
You're doing everything.
Yeah, well, together with my dad and some friends, they're helping me. But yeah, basically doing everything ourselves. The only thing that I will be having experts do is laying the floor
Yeah.
because like that's just expert work. I think I could do it, but it wouldn't be as nice and not as quickly as they can do it. So that's something I'm having contractors do, but everything else is just me, myself, and my friends and my father.
Okay. So this really further adds credence to the whole you're in a transition period because it's not just, hey, I don't live there yet. It's I'm doing all of the work. So you mentioned when I get home, I'm playing Final Fantasy 14, I'm watching movies. When do you get to your I guess now your old home? Is it after work or do you go from work to work on the new house?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I took one day a week off. I got Wednesdays off now, and I spent the entire Wednesday. So today, for example, in the new home, working on it. Well, like on days like this, usually until dinner. Then I
Mm-hmm.
have dinner at my own home, and then I just go to chilling mode for the rest of the evening. But on normal weekdays, it's work, eat something somewhere quickly, go to the new home, get some stuff done, and then get home late in the evening.
Wow. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then weekends is also there, spent there basically.
Okay, well,
And I also try to keep a social life in between. So like on the evenings that I'm not in the new home, I'm trying to spend with friends or going to the gym or doing something not at home usually.
you sound busy. This is the kind of thing that I think it all comes down to how you feel about all of this. Do you feel overwhelmed by any of this, or are you more excited by it?
Both. I'm very excited by it though, like a good kind of excited. But there's been a lot of moments where I'm like, how am I gonna do it again?
Is it overwhelmed by the I guess complexity of the work or the amount of work? Like, because there can be different feelings of being overwhelmed. How would you describe your feeling of being overwhelmed?
Yeah, most of like the amount where I'm like, oh, like I want to be at this point right now, but I'm only there yet. And I've got this much more to do, and I'm like, I got some deadlines, because I've also sold my own home, so I got to get out at some point. So I'm like, oh, how am I actually gonna do this? Kind of overwhelmed. And then also a part where I'm like, I don't want my entire life to just be either work or renovating right now. But like, I want to keep a bit of a social life going on. I'm like, how am I going to plan this in?
Okay, do you feel you mentioned last time about going all in on stuff? This is one of the cases where I feel like you almost have to because like you said you
Yeah.
sold your other place already. So at some point you're not going to have a third place to live. Although, have you considered that you could stay with a friend or your dad or whatever somewhere else for some time and not have that pressure?
I mean, I could if I absolutely have to, but I would rather not.
And okay, so if this will sound like a leading question, but if the two if the two options are basically like feel crushingly overwhelmed or stay with someone else and get an extra week of time, you would still choose like just be overwhelmed and go through all
Yeah.
the work. Okay.
Yeah. Like going somewhere else is a last resort option, basically. Like place burned down and we have to rebuild everything again. That's when I would stay at someone else's place again. But no, I want it to be done because I know also for myself, like if I don't have this deadline and I have another place to go to, I'll try to be too perfectionistic about it. I'd be like, oh, like I got another week anyway, so either I can postpone something or I can spend more time on something, and then we come back to like the 90%, 10%
Yeah.
stuff, and I'd probably get caught up in like the last 10% again, and now I have to go at some point, and if I don't, then I'm screwed. Well, not really, but get the point.
Well, so you have then this deadline is essentially what's forcing you to say that's it, the work is done. Although,
Yeah,
like you said, it doesn't have to be. You could always vacate a room and say I'm gonna take care of that room while you're living there,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So
That is a possibility.
so when is that deadline of when you sell your current place or move
So the
out?
28th of August. So there is still 2 months to go until then.
Okay. So then what made you say that in 1 month you think this will have died down?
Because I am aiming for that basically. And I think so. This is like in 1 month, I'll basically be at the point where I can live in the home. So like the living room will be done, the kitchen will be done, toilets, bathrooms, and like my main bedroom will be done in like a month. But
Yeah.
there's like still two other rooms. There's an attic, there's a garden, there's like lots of other stuff I still need to do. But those aren't necessary for living there, so I can take like the other month or even longer for that.
Got it. I recommend the even longer part because otherwise I feel like look, we're getting toward the end of the mentoring sessions in general, not the end of this current one, but if what we've identified as of last time was hey, you find it difficult, you find yourself overwhelming yourself with tasks, with activities that you're doing, at some point we need to try to pump the brakes on that somehow and get some coping mechanism for it or find some way of dealing with it. Otherwise, I feel like we'll have had 8 or 9 chatting sessions, and I'll be like, all right, Remy, what did you learn from all this? And you're like, I learned I have these problems. And maybe this indicates that stopping at 6 to 9 sessions is a bad idea. But there's, like I said, I think the house is sort of an extenuating circumstance. But when this also applies to your job, to climbing, to video games, to other things, I think there's got to be something we can potentially do. So, how hard was it for you to say that in about a month you'll have gotten all the livable stuff done, so I'll go live there? Was it tempting for you to say no? I want to get everything done ahead of time.
Yeah. If I could, I would have had everything done by then. But I also realized that's just not realistic. So there's no other choice basically. But if I had the choice of like spending another month in agony and it would all be done by then, I would probably have picked that.
Yeah, I see. Even if it meant agony. Well, Yeah, I think some amount of, I mentioned this last time, some amount of moderation. If you feel like you're always going pedal to the metal, that you've got to pull back somehow. And how you pull back can be maybe a creative puzzle. And in this case, it's like, okay, well, you're going to move there. Do you, and like you said, you think things will die down after that, but then how long what's your schedule for tackling the rest of this work? You know, the attic, the outside, the,
I mean, there's some things that need to be done, like there's a small leakage in the attic, so that actually should be done before the end of summer.
yeah.
But all the other things, I'm like, if it takes a year, if it takes 2 years, I'll get to it when I need to.
Okay.
So I don't really put a lot of pressure on myself to finish those.
Okay, good.
As long as it's livable, if it's like one of the side rooms, I can close the door, I don't see it, and I'll probably be bothered by it, but I don't feel like I have to finish it ASAP.
Okay, that's good. I wanted to make sure you weren't feeling constantly pressured by that too. There are some other things that I would say that are considerations here. One, you are using the help of other people, and the more you use those people's help, the more goodwill you're burning through. But I wanted to focus on the positive of that, which is you're spending time with your dad. Are you bonding more? Is this like a normal thing that you take on projects together? Was he like, all right, fine, son? How did that
Uh,
go?
yeah, it goes all kinds of ways. We don't really do a lot of this kind of stuff together. But it is nice to see him more often, of course. But we also do clash heads a lot of time over things. Where he's like, "Oh, we gotta go left," and I'm like, "No, we gotta go right." And then he's like, "I've done it 10 times." I'm like, "It's my house." So
Okay, but overall,
yeah,
would you
no,
say it's been
yeah, no, I really appreciate his help. He's a great guy. So overall, it's definitely positive.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, I wanna keep an eye on this. We'll probably let me think about this. Yeah, we'll probably have another session before you have completely moved out of the old place, or anyway, it's somewhere around then.
It will be on the edge. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm also going to be taking some time off in August. But I wanted to see if I could catch you still in this in between phase and see, and if it works out, it works out. If not, then whatever. I'll talk to you after it. All right. So work has been taking up the bulk of the rest of your time. You did that other Azure training, which is your second one,
First one, yeah.
first one.
The
Oh,
the next point is the Azure introduction training, and it was a complete waste of time. I don't know. I've never seen choice words. It was just
thank you for not
I
saying
I,
those
I
choice
just
words.
yeah. I sat there for like 2 hours and I'm just like, this is a sales pitch. This is not a training. Like, how dare they call this a training? Yeah, no, it was not worth my time. And I told my colleagues the same thing. I hope the next trainings will be better. But, it kind of put me off of planning the next training because, like, what if they're as bad as the other ones?
Wait. Okay, okay, back up. There were supposed to be 3 Azure trainings this year, right?
Yeah, and it was first of the three. I still have to do the other two, but I postponed them.
But I thought you had a coworker who did this one and thought it was great, or did they do a different one?
Yeah, I guess in the end they were thinking about a different training they did. Because I asked him about it, I was like, was it this and this? And he was like, no, I did that and that. So, I guess with the number, you got like the AZ 109 and the 210 or whatever it's called. I think we probably got some numbers mixed up at some point. So this one was on the agenda of like the codes we had to do. It was like an introductory training, but I felt like more like a sales page where they just, went like over the global Azure environment. And they were like, oh, like this is a network tunnel and, it's used for networking. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. I know that. And it was
Yeah.
like, that kind of level stuff. Yeah, and I think the other ones will probably be better, but I was like, okay, I wasted a lot of time on this. So I used that as an excuse to postpone the other trainings, basically.
Yeah. Well, look, that's unfortunate for a couple of reasons. One, you have to do them by the end of the year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Two, you said there was a mix up in which training was which, but your coworker did one of the required ones and liked it, which means that
Yeah.
of the remaining two, there's a 50%
They're
chance
probably
that you're
better.
in the good one. And
Yeah, no,
possibly
that's for
the other
sure.
one is it's unknown, but it could also be good, right?
Yeah, actually, I think I did look into the one he did at some point, but I think like they were only like trainings like in Canadian time zones, and I had to like stay up to like 2 p.m. or midnight to midnight to get it done. I was like, yeah, I'm not that dedicated to my work.
Right. No. I don't recommend doing that, but there are ones in I'd say like better time zones for you, right?
No, so when we looked, like they were non-available. So at some point we were like, oh yeah, we just have to like look in like a month time or something again.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, like we thought it was strange as well because like when my colleague did it, like it was like in Belgium somewhere, so you could actually just drive there, do it classically. But when I looked, they just were none in like European time zones. So that
Okay.
was also one of the things we ended up postponing. But that was like after me postponing it for like another month already that I finally started checking times for new trainings.
Yeah, well, look, I feel bad about that. Like I said, this is a required thing. And part of this was you mentioned that some tasks at work are potentially taking you longer as a result of not having the training. You had that big C++ refactoring that you had to do. I think this is one of those things that is like it's like watching a tragedy happen. You sort of need to take these trainings. Well, in one case, you do need to take them. In another case, they'll really help you. And yet you just had a bad experience that's now making you feel like, well, no, maybe I'm not going to take them or I'll postpone them. And yet we needed to be the opposite way. We needed to be like, oh, hey, you took the training, they gave you a cupcake and they, patted you on the head on the way out. And you're like, this was great. And I'd love to take another one of those. How, like, you postponed it. You just looked into the time. What happens if for the next 3 months there aren't good times? At what point do you say, I've just got to take this? Do you email the people and ask about it?
No, I'll probably ask my manager to fly me out to Canada at that point.
Well, is that what it would come down
You
to?
know,
Would you stay up till 2
I mean,
a.m.?
yeah, I mean, like, I would be like at some point, like, okay, you want me to do it? I'm not gonna stay up until like 3 a.m. to do it. So you either fly me there or you remove it from my curriculum this year.
Okay.
Because then I also get a nice vacation out of it. So gonna make the most of it.
Uh, Let me think about this for a second. So I suspect that this other training that your colleague did is probably worthwhile. You said this one was more like a sales
Yeah.
pitch. Was there anything important about it? Was there anything interesting?
No,
Okay.
maybe it's like I'll be fair. Like maybe at some point it became interesting, but I stopped paying attention at that
Okay.
point and started working on other things when I
Oh,
was like, okay, this is a sales
oh
pitch.
boy. So if Remy gets burned in the first 10% of something, he'll tune out. um, yeah. Look,
I mean, like I kept I stayed in the training for I just started my daily work while listening in. Like if I was like, oh, this might sound interesting, I'd like focus on it. But yeah, they lost my attention like half an hour in or something of like a 3 hour training. So
yeah. And look, I'm not necessarily saying that part's a bad thing. I think the bad thing is that now you've felt burned by it, so now you're less likely to take the trainings that
yeah,
might be worthwhile. I recognize that not every meeting, not every training is going to be valuable. So tuning out is sometimes the best thing you can do. And you were getting other work done during that time. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think hopefully these other trainings are good. And like you said, you're going to be working mostly in Azure. So this training should be directly relevant to your work. Uh, but
yeah.
okay. Yeah. Let's just kind
And
of
I think
see how that goes.
one of the things that also feels like I don't have much pressure to do it right now is that our entire company isn't yet Azure based. We're still
Mm-hmm.
transitioning towards Azure. Like we just kicked off last week, I think, like the migration to everything, and it's gonna take like half a year or more. So I'm like, I know I should probably know about it in advance, but I'm also kind of one of those guys that's like, okay, I'll run into a problem and then I'll research the solution to it rather than like take the trainings up front.
Yeah.
So that's
But
also what alleviates the pressure a bit.
But that's what's caused a different problem in the past, right? That's you got yourself into
Yeah.
the C++ refactoring thing, which then ended up taking a lot longer because you were trying to learn as you went. So,
Yeah.
um, it's six of one, half a dozen of another, both being bad problems. You kind of have to see which problem is worse, maybe. And
Yeah, no. And the problems I run into are definitely worse because not wanting to take not wanting to take a training is the problem. It's an attitude problem. So yeah, no, like I should definitely take the training beforehand.
okay, so I'm gonna maybe beat a dead horse here, but um, you've now said I should probably take the training, um, but there might not be a time zone thing that works. So could you maybe just send an email to these people and say, hey, will there be a more EU friendly time coming up in the next couple months?
Yeah, I definitely could.
Okay. Will you do that?
Making no promises, Adam.
All right. Suggested homework item: email the coordinators of this thing and ask if there's an EU friendly time coming up. Look, the reason I say this is because I think this is the easiest possible thing you can do that's still a step forward. And I think that
Yeah.
by doing this, if they're like, oh yeah, there is one coming up, it's on August, whatever, 16th, and you could just sign up then for it. And then that's it. You're locked in. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it starts giving you positive reinforcement here because I think we all have patterns, and I think it's when you identify a negative pattern that's hurting you and then don't address it, that's when probably other people start noticing them, and then the influence of that negative pattern starts increasing. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's see if we can curtail that a little bit. And if not, hey, I mean, right, this is all trying and it's a best effort kind of thing. And I know you're overwhelmed by everything else. And that's why I say, like, look, sending an email should be a pretty easy work time task you can do.
No, I do these mentoring sessions for a reason. I want to improve it, so I'll try to get this done
Okay.
before the next session for sure.
I'd be very surprised if the time to come up with an email did not arise naturally. But okay, yeah, I think if you write it as a reminder or something for yourself, I think that'd be good. And if that doesn't
You
pan
know,
out, I mean, maybe they say something like, "Look, we're not planning on that. They're all going to be Canada. Our instructors are located in Canada." But yeah, then at least you know, and now you don't need to keep checking every month. That it might actually save you some time.
yeah, and also this is something I also need to work on. I need to set up more notes or like reminders about these kind of things, because honestly, like I read up through our notes like an hour before we started this session. I was like, oh yeah, I need to do those training. So like, for the last couple of weeks, I completely forgot to put this as well. So it's a note taking thing for me as well that I need to work on.
All right. Well, this is why it's good that at least one of us is taking notes here. You'd forgotten about the required trainings. Actually, that's not
Just
possible
say,
that you'd forgotten about them, though, right? Because you looked into the timings.
yeah, no, but like like the last 2 or 3 weeks, I forgot about. Like I looked into those times like a month ago, before I
Oh,
got
I
sick and
see.
the home keys and everything. So like it's not something I get like a weekly reminder about. Like, hey, Remy, start looking into this already because time's running out.
So I like to do. I just kind of posted about this on Discord, but I do a few things. One, the fastest possible way is I can just hold down a button on my phone. It opens up the assistant, and I say, "Remind me in 3 days to do whatever." That's the fastest possible way. But I also just use the calendar quite a lot. Do you use your phone assistant?
So
Okay, out of curiosity, why don't you?
I don't know. I use the calendar, but I don't use like voice spoken thingies on my phone or anything.
Okay.
Like I don't really use the assistant.
Yeah, they're both tools for the same task in this case, which is setting reminders. So if you use your
No, yeah,
calendar,
I use calendar
yeah,
extensively, especially at work.
in this sort of case, what I like to do, if there's a training you need to take and you're just like, I want to do this at some point in the future, I don't know when, I would set a recurring reminder on a very weird interval, so like 37 days, and just say like, have I taken the training yet or something, and that's it. And then once it's done, you can delete the entire series, but that way you can ignore individual instances and know that it's still being saved for you to look at in the future. So maybe, yeah, I'll just write that down. You could try recurring reminders at a weird frequency, like 37 days. Alternatively, if you know that there's a deadline for it, I just set a calendar reminder before the deadline. So I've got a bunch of like subscriptions we need to cancel and those sorts of things where it's like, oh, you're going to lose money if you don't just click a button online. So yeah. Okay, I won't harp on that stuff. I think it's good that you are at least aware of these sorts of things, and look, wanting to try to change this and being open-minded for this might have good results, I think is the important mindset I want you to have. So when it comes to this training, it's like this next one might be good. Hopefully it is. And hopefully it teaches you, and hopefully then what would be ideal is that you connect the dots to, I took this training so that I encountered a problem in practice and I solved it because of the training, or mostly because of the training, or something like that. It put me in the right mindset. It gave me the right tools. So I think that would help out quite a lot. And if you don't see that, if you don't connect those dots, then you'll just be like, yeah, I took a training. It was random. Then I encountered a problem. I would have solved it anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Loop on training equals good. Training helps solve problems that show up during work. Cool. All right. Duolingo going strong, 142-day streak. Some of this has been just keeping up the streak lately. Do you feel like you're still learning Spanish?
No,
You don't.
just keeping it. Like I still want to, but like I said, like I'm just being too much headspace going to other stuff where I'm like, I want to keep my streak up right now. So I'll do the bare minimum to keep it going, which is a bad habit, I think. Uh, but I do still, you mentioned the Pokemon thing earlier. I still want to do it at some point when I have more free time.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
It's also like I feel like the one thing that streak helps me is like a daily reminder of, oh yeah, this is a thing you want to do. So it's like the calendar reminder on a daily basis, basically.
So let's say you dropped your streak. let's say I know Duolingo has like streak freezes and stuff, but let's say you ran out of whatever, all of those things, and 5 days from now you were at a 0 day streak. What would that mean for you?
Oh, probably dropping it.
You would just
and
stop learning Spanish completely.
No, well, for now, yeah. I do still think it's fun to do the daily thing. Like I'm not too worried now. Uh, like I think having that streak is a good motivator for me. So I feel like losing it would lose a bit of motivation. Uh, but I also think like it's still fun to do the daily bit of thing. And I think like I still pick up new words every now and then. But like like learning words isn't learning a language. And like to actually learn the language, I need to do more with it, like engage with the language. Like I said, like play a game or something. Uh,
Yeah.
and this is more of like a reminder for me now, like, hey, you want to do this at some point? You're busy right now, but you're doing this thing. Keep it up.
Okay, so I have a thought, and this is me just kind of thinking out loud here. If you were to drop the streak, you said you would stop Spanish for now. Stopping Spanish for now actually sounds like the best idea, given how busy you are with everything else. However, this is also not taking up a lot of your time. I'm guessing it's like, what, 4 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's still 4 minutes in between these other things you have to do. And what I've learned about myself is that the ideal, like if you were to follow sort of every instruction about being a healthy person, so you're brushing and flossing your teeth, you're cleaning up around the house, you're doing whatever, to pick up any number of tasks, each of those takes a small enough amount of time on its own. But when you do all of those things, then they take up way too much time. It's like, have you ever bought a device and you looked at the maintenance instructions? I got a humidifier and it says to clean it like every week. I don't know who cleans it every single week, right? It's like, yes, ideally you would do that. I think it's the same thing here where it's like, yeah, in order to keep up Spanish, you probably need, I don't know how many minutes per day to actually be on an upward trajectory, but more than 1 minute,
Yeah.
right? You probably can't learn a
Yeah.
language on 1 minute per day. So I don't think this is probably providing much value from my outsider point of view. And you mentioned it's fun, but whatever other 4 minute activity you do would probably also be fun. So in my mind, and again, this is what all of this is boiling down to. In my mind, this is one of those cases where you can try relinquishing a tiny bit of sort of control here to try to not go as all in on stuff. So I would just put all that food for thought onto your side of the table now. And if you choose to consume it, that's totally fine.
And I did get to 150 before I stopped. That's a nice number.
You remember the slippery slope you mentioned earlier, where if you had a longer deadline for your house, you would have just kept doing more stuff? 150 is going to turn into, well, 200 is an even rounder number, and 500 is even better. And then you're going to be on your deathbed saying, well, at least my streak is, 4,000, whatever. I don't know. Also, that implies you're dying in 10 years.
I was gonna say there's not a lot of
Yeah,
years
there's not a lot
left,
of time.
but,
I just picked an arbitrarily large number.
glad you want to see me grow old.
So
I
yeah,
mean, no, but that's a fact because like I am like, oh, I should like I have considered like dropping it, but I'm like, oh, but like 150 is such a nice number to hit, and I'm like, I should go for that, or like, so it's definitely something that that is me for like keep going, keep going, keep going.
I
I'm like,
get it,
oh, but
and yet, like I said, at some point, it's you've identified your patterns and you're sort of feeding the pattern now. And I'll also give you this as a consideration. There is, if you consider just a timeline, and there's a point in time which is you lose your streak. The beforehand you sees this as like a mountain to climb. Like, oh man, that's gonna be tough. I'll lose my streak. The after you, speaking from experience, does not care whatsoever. It's like, here's a number that didn't make it to 150, and it leaves your mind so quickly that it's not an important thing. So anyway, this is all subjective, and this might mean a whole lot to you that hasn't been communicated here. And my father's last wish on this house or something was for me to get to a 150-day streak in Spanish. I don't know, but I don't see it as being that intense. So yeah, just consider what would it mean to just drop it and not hit this arbitrary goal you have.
Yeah, no, I would, be bummed for a couple of minutes and then forget about it. Like I've done other things that I could treat. And I was like 360, like 5 days off from a year, and then I lost it. And I was like, I'm bummed, and I didn't remember until you just mentioned it. So
Yeah, you know what this is similar to for me? When I was playing video games 20 years ago, I would try to 100% practically all the games that I played. And at some point I realized, like, why am I doing this? At most of these games give you like a like, hey, you did it. Or here's an item that's fun that you can now use even though you've already beaten the entire game, so you have no reason to use it. And I realized at some point, I'm like, if I'm not having fun, why would I do this thing? And I think the same thing applies here. If I'm not learning, or if it's not accomplishing a better goal or something. So I'll stop harping on this, but I will say this: if you do drop it, just make a calendar reminder to pick it up again.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the video game thing because that's me in Final Fantasy right now, where I'm a really big achievement hunter, and I'm like just finished like the third expansion. It's like three more, and I'm like, but I want to do all the stuff I can do in this one first. And I'm like ignoring all of the game, doing like super achievements.
But that's fun for you, right? And if that's
Yeah, no,
fun,
but I enjoy it. I
yeah.
like it's I enjoy doing that. So it's
What I was saying is I had fun 20 years ago 100%ing games, and then I realized, I have more fun playing just different games and getting to whatever
yeah.
37% or 60% or so. Yeah, my overall point is make sure that your actions are serving some purpose in your life. It can be fun, it can be relaxation, it can be productivity, but they should probably be
No,
serving some purpose.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, give me 10 seconds to grab my water bottle
Sure, sure,
because I
sure.
forgot to grab it.
Okay.
It should have been under 10 seconds.
So this next thing, cutting myself some slack, hard to do, was out of office for an
Yeah.
entire month between being sick and having 2 weeks off for renovating. And that's the 2 weeks off for renovating. You're not just saying 8 Wednesdays in a row, right? Or whatever, 10 Wednesdays in a row. You're talking about two.
No, that is two trade weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the timing of that was really unfortunate. I got sick for like, as you mentioned, the 14th time this year, and like it was a gruesome one at this time. So I was just straight up out for 2 weeks. Couldn't do anything. Went back to the office for one day and actually had a training that day. Not the actual one, was first aid respondent at like the office thingy.
Mhm.
Went back for that and I had like my 2 weeks off. And I just felt really bad for that. I'm like, the entire team is like missing me for a month. Like the departments I support have to, do without me for an entire month. And I try to not look at my mailbox, but you see like your mailbox slowly growing. You're like, okay, I gotta clear this backlog at some point. So that gave me some stress for sure. I'm like, even though my manager was like, you can't do anything about getting sick, don't worry, we'll be fine, we'll manage without you. But yeah, it's still I give myself this pressure of like, you're away for a month. Uh, yeah, I don't know, it just feels bad for me.
Okay. A few things I want to talk about there. One, this is the least important, but for whatever reason, you said there was a first responder training. Is this like a fire code sort of thing that you're talking about, or is this?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. So,
Okay.
so like,
Just check. Yeah. Okay. Then the time off. So this is something that I was just talking about before our mentoring session started, that I think that people sort of like you, like Peter, for example, hold themselves to very high standards and then want to deliver on standards, whether or not they're realistic. And in this case, it's like you got sick. You shouldn't do work when you're sick. As a result, if your manager were like, oh man, but we really needed this, this is such a shame, I'd be like, okay, maybe there is an expectation of this. But your manager said the opposite. Hey, we'll manage without you. You're sick. Don't worry about it. And what did your manager say about taking the 2 weeks off in addition to that? Were they like, oh man, this is a real bummer. We're going to be suffering over here. Like, what was their messaging to you?
no, I even considered postponing my weeks off by a week so I could do some work in the meantime. He just called me an idiot and told me to take it off anyway. So
Yeah.
he
Okay.
was like, no, no, you're taking this time off, and I'm not hearing anything else. So
Okay. So you have a very direct, is your manager Dutch?
well, it was, I'm kind of
Oh,
paraphrasing, but that's what it came
okay.
down to.
Well, in like session number one, you mentioned that I guess this was like a
He,
Dutch.
he could say it like he could say it like that, but this was paraphrasing. But we are direct like that. But it's like don't be stupid. It's not your fault. You got sick. You took this time off. You're gonna take it off. Your house is more important than your job. And this is still paraphrasing, but
Yeah.
that's basically what it came down to.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying. But the general messaging is very, very clear, right? It's,
Yeah.
hey, take this time. Not, hey, we need you. Hey, you're letting this stuff drop. Hey, this is going to show up in your performance report. It's not anything like that. And so this still goes back to, you have a standard that you set for yourself, and it's important to you that you were there or that you were doing work, and you wanted to restructure what your manager was pretty much like, do not do this, just go take care of your house. Like, this is a life experience for you, you're going to do this. So I think what we need to focus on, have you been reading by any chance? There's been some talk of stoicism in Discord, and this was in like the books channel or something like that.
Yeah. I read the messages.
Okay.
We actually had a speaker at work like 4 months ago about like stoicism and stuff like that.
What did you
So I
take
know
from the
some things about it.
speaker?
I think I'm quite a bit of a stoic when I was listening to him. Uh, but yeah, I don't really see the connection with what he talked about, at least in this.
Okay. Um, what I was going to get at here is uh, a lot of, I think the philosophy is you control yourself. You control nothing else. And life will throw random obstacles at you, random benefits at you. Just anything could happen. And it's your reaction to things that is something you can actually manage. And in this
Yeah,
case, it was um, you have these high standards, and yet it's not life throwing that at you. It's actually you kind of creating the thing that then you have to respond to yourself. And I think it's a vicious cycle because in your head it's important, and convincing yourself that it's not is almost unreasonable. And I find that the reason why it's hard to do that is because you've probably linked it to something else in your mind that you're proud of. And so I want to examine that and see if that's actually true. So for example, let's say it was like, hey, I'm on time to things. And this is generally how I am. I'm on time to things, and I value that. Well, there's a reason why I value it. It's not just being on time. It's like, oh, I see this as a sign of respect, and I want to show that I'm respectful of other people. So you wanting to be at work, what do you think is driving that?
I think just I think pride is indeed a factory of it, because I'm proud of work I do. I like helping people. I like being around people. I like contributing to something. In this case, work.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a bit of an obligation to like my team and the people I support. To be there. You know, to help them basically.
Okay. Um, if you weren't there, what do you feel these people would say about you?
I don't know. Probably not much. As long as there's probably either they forget about the issue they had, or someone else will pick it up if it's like really urgent, and they'll probably move on, and maybe they make like a joke when I get back. They're like, "Oh, look who's back," or something like that. But I haven't heard any of that. Actually, I had some really positive feedback, or at least yeah, I guess it's positive feedback. Some people come to me like, "Oh, like, hey, where have you been? Like, I didn't see you in the office for like quite some while. Were you sick or something?" And I thought that was really nice, and like assuring that like, hey, people noticed I wasn't there. Came to like ask how what happened. So I thought that was positive.
That is positive. I want to push this a step further. So that was you being out for sickness and then taking the time off. Now let's say a month passes and there's nothing wrong. You're just not doing your work. What do you think people say about you then?
Yeah, I don't, not much, not any negative things. I don't think.
Okay, if a year passed, I'm intentionally pushing this to like a ludicrous amount, but if a year passes and you're just literally not showing up to work, what are people saying about you at that point?
Probably have forgotten about me.
Okay, so I actually disagree. I think that probably after a month of you just not showing up for your job, your manager would probably be like, "Hey, this is not okay," right? There'd probably be some disciplinary action.
Oh, oh yeah, no. I mean, I thought like the manager was like aware of that, like if something was up, that
No,
they would
no,
not show
no.
up.
You're just
Okay.
slacking,
Like
let's say.
I just snap my fingers and I disappear basically.
No, not even you disappear. Just you, like, obviously, it wouldn't get to the point where 10 years has passed and no one's reached out to you. But let's say you didn't show up to work for a day, they might just assume you're sick. But if you don't show up for a week, they probably wouldn't assume anything. They'd probably ask you a question and find out
Yeah,
what's wrong.
yeah,
And if you just said like, "Ah, sorry, I'm just not feeling it," at that point, people would start to say things, and they probably would start to get more negative. And that's sort of what I'm trying to get to here is, what do you
yeah.
think
Okay, sorry.
people would say if you were to just like slack off and
Yeah, okay, sorry. I misunderstood the
no,
question
no, no,
then.
totally
Yeah,
fine. Yeah.
I think I mean, like you said, if for a day, probably just like okay, get well soon. For a week, my manager probably ask like, hey, what's up? Is there anything we can help with? After a month, they'll probably try and get help, like maybe get HR involved, and like not in a negative way, but like see, hey, what's up? How can we help you get back on track? And after like half a year, they'd probably be like, hey, we seriously need to talk about things like if there are a lot going on, like can you just not cope with things, whatever, or are you just slacking off because you don't care and we need to fire you? I would guesstimate like probably after like half a year, they probably assume like disciplinary actions if there's like no good reason. But this is just you know really guesstimating.
Okay. That's actually very illuminating for me. I know this sounds like a ridiculous hypothetical, but essentially what I'm trying to poke at here is, at what point do fears about what people would say actually become what people would say? So for example, like Remy is a bad person. What would you have to do for people to say that? It's not nothing. There's not, it's not like there's no, you could start stealing from stores just on a daily basis. People would probably start saying like, okay, he's a bad person. The same thing happens in a work setting, right? There is a set of actions you can do that would actually get people to say, Remy is lazy, Remy is unreliable, those sorts of things. And I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, again, you've created these standards in your head. By all means, it sounds like your manager's on board. The team is, if anything, positive about, hey, cool, you're back. You can help us with this stuff. And even in this wild hypothetical of you're gone for like 2 months, you said people would still be trying to help you, which is
Yeah.
like, in my mind, great work culture to know that they'd probably have your back, even if you somehow had this, terrible thing happen or you just felt lazy for some amount of time. So I think what I'm getting back to here is there is the rational and emotional side of responses to things. And you can want to do something and say, oh man, I need to be at work because of an emotional response. But the rational part of you could say, this is unrealistic. I need to actually spend time working on my house or something like that. I think the more you can acknowledge that you are the one creating these expectations for yourself, I think the more you can get into that own feedback loop of identifying when you're elevating your expectations beyond what's feasible. Does all that make sense? What do you think about this?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, and I think that's a nice illustrative way to put it as well. Not something like I had considered, seeing like, okay, it's like a emotional response versus a rational response, because normally you need, like, if I get sick, I'll still try to do some work from home or whatever, but like, this time I was really sick, so I just didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel bad for not doing, because I'm like, okay, I'm actually really sick right now. I just physically can't work. So I didn't really feel bad for that. Like, the only thing I felt bad for was need, like, the emotional part where I'm like, my colleagues are gonna have to do more work now.
Yeah. Um, Emotionally still has a response. Okay. So uh the broader sense of all of this is, in this case we have a specific example, right? You mentioned that you were sick, you mentioned you didn't feel guilty about that, but you did feel guilty about the renovation part, and you said, oh, I can push this off, I can do different work, and your manager said no, you're like nothing doing, you were coming in, or sorry, you're staying home. Uh and then you checked your inbox, I guess, which only added to your guilt, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I want to get to, and I'll just be very blunt about this. I want to get to the point where you can identify, is this helping you or is this hurting you? Just the expectation, because this was a very, very hard process for me to even identify, like, am I doing things just because I feel the need to do things, or is there actually a thing that needs to be done here? And dropping items from my to-do list was very tough, but it was like a necessary thing. Otherwise, these lists would just grow forever. And that's why I mentioned Duolingo as a microcosm of this. It's a small example of a thing that if you dropped, I don't think you'd feel very bad about. And yet it's the same exercise you have to perform, but on a much bigger scale when it comes to things like work, house, life, social aspect, etc. So please do ponder this stuff. And here's one last concrete suggestion I'll give you on this, which is consider like a 2-week calendar reminder with just a link to this document to read through it when it's not right before a mentoring session, and just see, does any of this, is all of this, water just completely washing off of you, or is any of it sticking and you want to talk about it more or something like that? So yeah, consider
Sounds good.
for a 2-week reread this without it being right before a session. I want to see if any of this resonates with you. Okay. Any other thing you want to talk about there, or I can move on to other bullet points?
Oh, so my next item is like, I've been out for a month, and since coming back, I actually feel quite good about the work I do. I feel like, I've been back for 2 weeks now. Of course, the first week is catching up on everything. It's like 600 emails. That's, you gotta maybe do something with, or at least, like, skim through to see if you have to do something with. So there's a week lost on just that. But like last week, I feel like I got quite some things done. So of course, like the C++ remodeling project I've been working on, I actually got some major part of that done. I was really struggling with before my break. Uh, so I felt like, I probably needed this longer stay away, which probably resulted in a net positive.
Okay. Um, I asked you last time, I think I said, hey, when was the last time you took a vacation? And I think you said never.
Basically.
Basically. Okay. does this not sort of reinforce the power of being away from something? And again, like rationally, I
Uh,
recognize there's an emotional response to here's why I don't want to do that in the moment, but you can look back and say
yeah,
like,
it does.
this was good. Okay, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So again, this is something where I was talking to Peter in his mentoring session, I think the last time, and he said something like he took a 1 week trip and he learned like this reinforced for him that 1 week is actually not long enough to disconnect. 1 week is as long as it takes for your brain to finally get to the point where you're like, I can finally relax. I'm out of work mode. I don't have that stress of like, it's Tuesday. Oh my God, I have to be at work. So I'm not necessarily talking about length of time. I'm just talking about you took some time and it helped. And like, that's it, full stop. That's the whole sentence. So if you can think about that again for next year and be like, maybe I need to do, I don't know, another renovation project next summer or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll
Yeah,
just,
no, for sure. Like because as you said, like my vacations usually are like a maximum of 2 weeks.
mhm.
So this I think this is the first time in probably since I started working that I took more than 2 weeks off in one go.
Yeah. Uh, and I noticed the same thing about myself. I mentioned I went to Spain and then I got sick as well. That amount of time instilled a certain appreciation in me about what it is that I tend to do and what my normal life is. And it also gave me some time away from the tedium that I have, whatever chores and errands I had to run, get me on my own routine. So I think it's really good to do. And I think we need that variety. And especially there's another consideration I haven't really harped on stream before too much, but I feel like your life is very dynamic for the first maybe like 20, 25 years if you're on the traditional track. You go to school, you go to more school, you get a job, you start meeting people or getting a house or something like that. After that, the next 25 years, I'd say is largely the same for a lot of people. It's like, well, you had a job, so now you're just moving up in that job. You got a house, so now you're, making it more your own house. You're building out your family, that sort of thing. Um, and I think that's another reason why getting some variety injected in there is good. And the best way to do that is just time off from something, work, your routine, anything. So yeah, please do consider all of this stuff as, just like, hey, I I can take time off work. I had positive reactions from the people. No one was negatively affected. They were happy to see me back. I felt refreshed. I can tackle the work. I have a renewed mind, etc. Uh, this next one, nanograms are my new poison, and I blame you. I will happily accept the blame for this.
I've been really enjoying those. I feel like this. I kind of talked before about like doom scrolling. I want to minimize the idle time on my phone at least. Where like I have to wait for 2 minutes. I don't want to grab my phone. I want to be just stare at a blank wall for those 2 minutes instead of doing something on your phone. Yeah, Nonograms is taking that time away now. I'm like, oh, I got a minute here. Let's take another look at that Nonogram I'm stuck on.
Yeah,
But
I
giving you blame for that, is just a joke, of course. But
yeah,
no, it's filling my idle time. But at least I feel like this is, and this might just be copium. I feel like there's at least like some engaging brain work where like it's both fun, but you're also solving a puzzle, so you're purposefully thinking about something. Which if there's like a ranking about like idle things to do is like doom scrolling, like
yeah.
YouTube shorts is here, and you're then like doing puzzles like here.
Yeah, it's better than just watching random YouTube videos, I'd say. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think it's funny, you can push anything to an extreme. I just mentioned how I'd done this way too much while I was sick, and I looked at my phone's screen time and it was
2000. That's a lot.
yeah, it was a lot of puzzles, and like sure some of them are fast. It's not like I'm doing gigantic puzzles every time, but um yeah, anything can be taken to an extreme. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. I hope it doesn't, take over your life.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
This next
But
thing,
it's fun.
oh, sorry, did I cut you off?
No, no,
Oh,
go on.
okay. The management training program. So you mentioned, I think you said end of summer. Do you know like roughly when it is? Is like August sort of thing? Okay. Um,
No, I don't know yet. I actually have to follow up on this probably sometime soon. Because yeah, they would start after summer. They said
okay.
so. I would expect after August actually.
All right. Yeah. He thinks it'll be after August. The reason I ask is because I'd like to be able to follow up on this, and we'll probably have some time to do that. And if not, it's okay. I think you mentioned there's like a 5-year timeline on you taking over as a
Yeah.
manager, which is probably whatever we talk about now won't have too much of an impact. Uh, we've got some time, so I want to look through some of these things. And I want to start with this one actually. The how are you cutting yourself slack and being nice to Remy?
Sorry, I just choked on the all caps being nice to Remy.
Well,
Did not see
no,
that
really,
one
that's
come.
what it is,
Like
right?
I,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it is. But I was trying to fix my camera when you were typing this out, so I missed that part and it caught me off guard. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm still not too nice to myself. I don't think. I still, have high expectations of myself. Like it's the same thing with the house. Like I'm not a professional house renovator. I'm not a professional painter. I'm not a professional uh, woodworker or anything. But I try to, renovate my house perfectly. And I got my dad helping me. I got friends helping me. And if they mess something up, I'm like, it's fine. You're not a professional. You can mess up. We'll fix it, or I'll just have to live with it. And then I mess something up, and I'm like, you know, moron. How could you mess this up?
Yeah. Let me think about this for a second because I was thinking for a sec of like, where does this come from? And I don't know if it's even productive to talk about, but I'll just finish the thought at least. Like, were you always this way? Do you notice a point in your life where this started happening more? Was there a teacher who was hard on you, or a parent, or some other figure you looked up to? And like I said, it might not even
No,
matter. What?
not really any of that. I think
Yeah.
I've always been like this, and it comes purely for myself, and it's something I've been thinking about a bit as well for myself. Like, hey, where does this drive, like the strive for perfection, come from? And I think a lot of this has to do with pride. I think I'm quite a prideful person, and just doing things well, it has to do with pride, I think, and not wanting to mess up, and like always want to be, the best I can be.
Do you fear making mistakes?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah. So, but it's also, I think I'm really on both ends of there. Like if I care, I really fear mistakes. But on the other hand, I can also be like, oh, I don't care about this. If it screws up royally, like so be it. And even if I, do fear making mistakes, if the mistake does happen, I don't tend to get too stuck on it. I can accept, okay, the mistake has been made, and now how do we fix this?
Yeah. Okay. Um, you've seen my tenant system, and I'm now down to like three or something or four. And one of them is embrace failure. And I mean it in like the nicest possible way, right? Which is that you will encounter difficulties. It's pretty much, it goes without saying. And how you recover from those difficulties is what's important, and not necessarily how you got to that point. Or it's like, what do you do once you're there? And for learning specifically, I think mistakes are the fastest path to learning. You're speaking in Spanish to somebody, you say the wrong word, they correct you. You're like, oh, that just tiny amount of like, oh, they felt the need to correct me. I should remember this for the future. Like that does something great for you. And it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't made a mistake. And then there are other things that, I don't know, we just aren't aware of what mistakes we're making and everything. Uh, when taken to the extreme, just like we were talking about nonograms, when taken to the extreme, a fear of mistakes can paralyze you and make you feel like I have to do things perfectly. I have to be the best at something, or I can't even pursue something if I'm not going to be good at it. Uh, Again, all this is just kind of like, it's something to think about of what are your expectations doing for you, and how can you be softer to yourself. And that's why I say this whole being nice to Ramy thing. If you've ever read a self-help book, I feel like it's, and I know I satirize this in my own stuff, but it's maybe like a paragraph of good advice that's expanded out into a book to just try to get something that makes you feel good about what you're learning. So if this being nice to Ramy thing is the thing that does it, it makes you think like, oh man, yeah, am I being nice to Ramy right now? Like it's something that sounds cheesy, but like it might be worth having in your mind of, am I actually helping myself with this?
Yeah, and I think the issue there is that I am aware that I'm not nice to myself, and I am aware that if someone else would make the same mistake, I you know couldn't care less basically. But then acting upon it is different than recognizing it.
Yeah. Um, I think there are a few phases to this. I think if you want to change your behavior, one is identifying what that behavior is you want to change. Then the next is identifying when it happens, and just when. That's it. Like literally, hey, wow, I just offered to go into work when I have this house renovation to do and it's already breaking my back. That's just a when thing. Then the next step I think is identifying why. Like why did I do that? And then the final step is identifying like what do I do to fix it? Like how do I not? So let's just get some awareness about this for now. And just, I'd say in the next month, really try to identify 1 or 2 times where you're not being nice to yourself. And maybe even ask yourself the question like, what would I do if this were somebody else? What would I do if I were trying to be nice to myself? And the answer is probably like you've had very level-headed, reasonable responses to other people, and other people have had those same responses to you. So I feel like you are healthy going outward, and other people are healthy going to you, but you are not healthy going to yourself. And yeah, that's something that I think is gonna probably hurt your mentality in the next, I don't know how long. Like it's just a thing to focus on.
I only got 10 years left, so
They only got 10
probably
years
get
left. I think about 4,000 days if I had to estimate. So, well, and I wrote this down as a way of bringing awareness to this. Do you want to try a tenant system? If you were to list like 1 or 2 tenants for yourself and then review them every so often, is that something you'd like to do?
Mhm. Yeah, I can give it a try. I'm always down for trying stuff at least.
Okay. Because I don't want to make your tenants, but here's what I would say then. For next time, present what you've come up with for this. So which tenants, how long before you review them, and if you've tried it already, how did it go?
Yeah,
So
I mean, I'd like to set it up probably like this week if I want to do it, so we can see if it helps next session rather than give you what I've come with. I can probably just send it to you when I come up with
sure,
them.
yeah, I'll send them this week. Yeah, that would be good. I mentioned earlier that maybe it'd be a good idea to write a reminder. I don't even know where I wrote this. Oh, this one. Consider a calendar reminder for 2 weeks about just rereading this. Maybe in 1 week you're rereading this and you're also coming up with these tenets. Again, the reason why I say this is I think bringing awareness to this is the first step. And it's certainly not the only step, but you'll be surprised by how much awareness will do. Have you ever done something like counted the calories of what you're eating?
No.
Okay. Um, that was just a common one that might have been the case. But I think a lot of people are surprised when they do something like that. Another common one I think is finances. Have you ever looked through your finances pretty extensively?
Yeah, for like the last 4 years, I keep like a monthly inventory of what goes in and out.
Yeah. And do you remember 4 years ago when you started, were there like some surprises? Because almost always there's something where people are like, I did not realize I was spending that much money here.
Uh, I don't think there are really surprises. Like I knew I was spending a lot of things on like food at the restaurant at work, for example.
Yeah.
But I am conscious of it, and I do it willingly, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
that's
there weren't really a lot of surprise. I think like except like financial is like a very specific thing, of course. But I'm really aware when and where I spend money, so there aren't really big surprises
okay.
there for me. But that's a specific thing, of course.
Yeah. Totally fine. Just some examples, but I think with the tenants, you'll come up with them, and then maybe you'd be surprised at like, wait, now that I'm actually focusing on this, wow, I'm not nice to myself like 5 days out of the week or something like that. And that alone could be what triggers a hey, I need to do something about this. For me, one of these things, I mentioned this in a blog post I made a long time ago, but my wife went and saw a nutritionist, and the nutritionist said essentially like, hey, I'm surprised you're not diabetic. And I was like, whoa, like I didn't go to this nutritionist, but I know my own diet compared to hers. And I was like, that was basically the nutritionist talking to me. So I was like, I got to change something. And it just wasn't even on my mind until then. And then I started like analyzing, yeah, what I'm eating and everything. Uh, yeah, I think this is a really good thing to try. So yeah, I hope you do try out the tenant system.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll give you a list soon.
yeah. And just to be clear, no more than 3, I would say, to start with. In fact, if you have 1 or 2, that's probably best. And as far as a review schedule goes, like every week or 2, maybe to take a look at it and really be honest about, am I upholding these? What could I change? What could I do differently? And yeah, we'll see where this goes, but I think this could help. I think we're right at the end of the session. So yeah, any last thoughts? Anything you want to share?
My nameplate, maybe again, so they're sure I'm Remy.
Okay, nice.
No,
Now,
I got nothing. I think
now
we talked about everything that was on the list.
well, that's good. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Remy. I really appreciate you doing this. Again, I know this is, it's a very unique mentoring session in that it's very public and broadcasted. So I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've appreciate you, spending your time with me, going through this. So thank you.
All right. Well, good luck being nicer to yourself. I'll see you later, Remy.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, you know the drill. Clap for Remy. Make sure I'm not gonna share anything. Clap, 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 clap. Good job, Remy. I want to read through chat really fast because there's not usually too much of it. Yeah, a bit of lag. Where's this guy from? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but Remy is from Netherlands. I think he's very public about that. Was I a therapist in a previous life? This, I don't remember what this has to do with neck training. Yeah. What is this app? I'm not sure what app you were talking about. It might have just been Google Docs. If you were talking about what I was, well, I guess that's the only thing that was really showing on screen. Yeah, it was Google Docs. Seems like this is more of fulfilling the social aspect of his life, as he mentioned what was missing earlier, and less of mentoring. I think that's what the start of it might have been. I frame this as being around career mentoring because that's what this is supposed to sort of be about. But I feel like your career is not your career in isolation, and there's a lot that can bleed in from your personal life. Also, I don't know what these sessions are going to be ahead of time. So, someone might want to talk about whatever, like playing sports or something. And then I guess it's not so career focused. Ideal vacation length is around 3 weeks to fully disconnect. Yeah. And is this some type? Yeah, this is just me typing on. So, hey, Bokyo. Hey, 3D extended. Oh, next stretches. Okay. I wasn't looking. Let me look at this too. Do you ever mentor anyone else? Seems like he is your regular. Yeah, so there is, let me link this into here too. There is the mentoring. I'll type it into both chats, I guess. There's the mentoring schedule, and that's where you see everyone listed. So the next session for Beardage is July 8th, and for 3D Extended is July 3rd. I only have 3 mentees. So yeah, if you only tune in on a certain day, you're probably going to see the same person every time, because I think I try to schedule on the same day every time. Monday, yeah, Thursday, some Friday, some Wednesday, and then yeah, mostly Wednesday. Excuse me. How did Botland go? Botland got discontinued. It didn't go very well. I think there were a few problems. I think one is it wasn't the best made incarnation of that kind of game that it could have been. Two is that kind of game is not something that people want to play as much as more traditional games, I think. And 3 is that I didn't really, well, there were a lot of problems, but I didn't end up marketing as well as I could have because I kept thinking, oh, there's more stuff I've got to do to fix this up and make this better. It's been 4 years already. Yeah. Okay, let's write this down, which is Remy follow-ups. Tenet's next meeting, put the video online, link it in the sheet, schedule the next meeting, I guess. Yeah. Okay, there we go. And I'll fill out a new journal entry really fast. Why does that happen? All right, so Skeleseller and mentoring. Started working on summoning in Skeleseller. Mentored Remy. Hey, Maybach. Missed your live stream so much. Yeah, I wasn't online for a while because I was working at Google for about 3 years and only just came back in December. I don't know when the last time you were here was. I could tell you. 2022. But then before that, 2021, and before that, yeah, also 2021, I guess. But those one-offs were the random streams I did while I was still working at Google. Now I'm back to streaming. Although my schedule isn't what it used to be. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it tends to be, what's the time right now? 12. Yeah, it tends to be about 9 to 12 and then 1 to 4. So it's right about lunchtime. But yeah, I am super happy to be back. I'm happy to be streaming. I'm really, really happy to be doing game development as well. I know this doesn't look like too much right now, but this game is going to eventually be released, hopefully this year. And we're going to slowly work our way through that. What do you use to auto insert the current time? I use something called Espanso for that. So that's what I use for all these. Actually, let me just pull this up on screen and you can see. That's what I use for everything you see in here. A lot of these are really simple and obvious. Like if I type TY, for example, it makes a little praying emoji thing. Sung for sunglasses. All those sorts of things. And then also just like long words like technology or Kubernetes or something. And yeah, the time and the date. And I use this stuff for so much. Google Docs is the new OneNote. I always use Google Docs, even back when I was using OneNote. I used to use Google Docs and OneNote and VS Code, and now I use Google Docs and Obsidian, and still VS Code for coding, but I used to use plain tasks just for temporary notes now. Yeah, the nice thing, Northern Flicker, about if you were to use Espanso is you could just copy whatever you want from my setup here. So maybe you look at typos and you're like, oh, I make totally different typos. I don't even make most of these typos anymore. But yeah, a lot of this stuff is pretty helpful. Tried Obsidian a year ago, never got used to it. I like it. I also really wanted to be on something that was Markdown based. I think I have, does that have the video? Yeah, I have a video on ditching OneNote here. And then I have a video on switching to Obsidian as well, I think. Yeah. Yeah, and that was a very involved process. I have taken such a crazy amount of notes that just migrating from one app to another took a long time. And for those who haven't seen, my notes are here, notes.adamlearns.com. All the stuff you see me taking during the stream, well, almost all the stuff should be there. It is not updated in real time. So for example, I just updated this GitHub note. And if we search for GitHub here, you won't see the new notes. I have to actually manually push it. But yeah, I should probably do that at some point. Push new notes online. Okay, so mentoring is done. Yeah, I think it's just lunchtime now. I feel like my voice isn't totally back to normal. Still sounds a little sick, but maybe I'm not the best judge of that. What's for lunch? I do not know, but I'm gonna go find out. Well, yep, that's it for me. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the mentoring thing. Like I said, I know it was probably a little bit jarring for some people to see something like that because it's not interactive. And why be online if I'm not interacting with people? But I'll be back in about an hour for a normal afternoon. Probably going to still work on like all the summon stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. See you after that. Be back soon. Bye.